7
Hello, good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock. Requirements of the Sunshine Law have been met. The meeting was advertised in the Burlington County Times on January the 7th, 2024. An electronic notice was given to the NJAC 5:39-1.5. We will now start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yesterday or 2 days ago was Veterans Day, so we're going to have a moment of silence and just think about and honor the veterans in the past, future, and present. Roll call.
Committeewoman Berkeley.
Present.
Committeeman Carr.
Here.
Committeewoman Mungo. Committeewoman Wright.
Present.
Mayor Henley.
Present.
Also present. Township Solicitor, Township Administrator Clerk, Deputy Township Administrator, Police Chief, Fire EMS Chief.
We will now start the presentation of the swearing in of Patrolman Justin Gintel. How'd that do? Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
that I will bear true faith
I will bear true faith
and allegiance to do the same
and allegiance to do the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all duties
all duties
of police patrolman
of police patrolman
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Also present, Committeewoman Mungo.
Here.
We will now have a presentation with our Deputy Director, Felicia Hobson, to talk a little bit about the Burlington County Emergency Shelter. So what we'll do is, as a committee, we can do some question and answering in the beginning, obviously with some of the questions that you guys have as well. Then after that, we'll allow everyone to come up, or what the time frame allows, to have question and answers as well for things that we may not be able to hit, okay? And I think that, Bob, what he says, 3 minutes per person?
Yes, that's a normal rules for comments.
Okay, fair enough. Are you ready?
I am.
Do you want to start, Nancy, with your first question? Or do you have one, or no?
I thought she was going to give a presentation first, and then we would ask questions. No?
No.
The agenda said presentation.
Okay. Do you have a question, or no?
Before, no.
Okay.
But I believe you are the director, correct?
I am.
Not the deputy director.
That is
Did I call you the Deputy Director? I apologize. So one of the questions that I've seen a lot is, we have, are the whoever goes into the emergency shelter, are they forced to go out during the day? Are they forced out? Like, are they going to be in the street
No,
during the day?
no, no,
Ms. Hobson,
yes.
can you speak into the microphone a little bit just so everybody can hear you? Thank you.
Is it, red light means on? It's on? Okay. So no, they will not be required to leave during the day. It's a 24-hour shelter. It's a
And what will
24-hour
they
shelter.
do during the day? Like, so do they have programs or something that's going? And to be fair, I'm not referencing like it's just homeless, because my understanding is when I've done some different research, it's not just homeless. It can be anyone who needs help. Is that correct or no?
Yeah, well, typically, it's going to be someone who's facing emergency homelessness, right? So if you find yourself in an emergency situation, so for example, this is a bad example, but this is an example, if you have someone who's dealing with domestic violence, and they have to leave their home in an emergency, they can go to the shelter to get help. It's that type of emergency in addition to, addressing the homeless problem in our county.
Yeah,
Does that answer your question?
it does.
I know a lot of the concerns, and again, I live right there in Torrance. I know there's a lot of residents here that do. A lot of concerns are about what services they would do during the day if they didn't have jobs. I know that there's going to be services there to help them seek jobs if they were a little bit more long-term, maybe not just at night. And I think the fear for a lot of us was just not knowing ahead of time, but it was there. I'm not saying that the information wasn't there, but we didn't have that direct communication to be able to put it out to our residents about what it would look like and kind of where the shelter would be. So the concern is some of the residents in the homeless shelter may start wandering into the neighborhood. We already have seen some of our homeless families that live in that area already, around, but our police, our community members pretty much know those people. So they've had relationships with a lot of them. So I think the concern for the residents, if you could just speak on it, that I live right there. I've never seen any kind of violence. I've never had a crime in my home. I've never had to deal with any of that, but that is the fear that's out there.
Okay. So I heard you say a few things. So let me first address some of the things that, the services that we're providing to the homeless population will be wraparound services. So they can get the help that they need so they can get back on their feet, right? This is a very vulnerable population in our county. Burlington County has the highest rate in South Jersey of homelessness. This homeless shelter will address that because we need to help this population. Regarding your fears, I think that's a loaded question, and I think I might need to hear from residents to really unpack how they really feel, but I feel like everyone, because we're human, we all have the fear of the unknown, right? So, because one of the biggest concerns was you didn't know. Well, we initially announced this 2 years ago. So, let me just stay on that for a second. Our meetings are the second and the fourth Wednesdays of each month. Our agendas are published 48 hours before our public meetings. So I'm not sure how else we can get our information out because we do have 40 towns in Burlington County. So I'm not quite sure what else we could do other than publicizing our agendas as we're supposed to do so. And every meeting, we have 2 public comment sections. So I would like to think that there was an opportunity for folks to come to our commissioner board meeting. We meet right there on Rancocas Road in Mount Holly to address concerns. So that part. The second part, it's hard to talk about your individual fears, other than me saying, I get it that you may not be familiar with what's happening in this space, but I believe with us having the shelter, it should remove some of your fears. I can't say that it will, but I would think that you would have a level of comfort knowing that we're offering this service to one of our most vulnerable populations in our county, and that it would bring you some comfort to know that, folks are getting help, so they don't have to be in front of the Wawa. You shouldn't have a fear of, your quality of life should not be impacted. Right? And I would think that having a homeless shelter would help ease how you feel about your quality of life. But I can't say that I could speak to fears. It's very general. I would need to have a specific scenario, and did something happen? I would need to know, and I don't want to sit here and guess. I don't want to speak to the what-if scenarios without having a real story to address. So it's kind of hard to address fears.
I appreciate that. Did you have a question? Oh, I was just going to say, just to kind of address, I actually wrote something to speak on behalf to, because I didn't know what to say tonight. I had a lot of thoughts about the things to say, so I did write some things out. But to kind of go along with what you said, I think that a lot of the frustration that might be here and in our community was not us as a committee, even maybe putting that narrative out to our community and working with the county to get more information, and it became us coming up with the scenarios of what if, or what is it may look like this, it may look like that, and we had no idea, so we were just taking and running with our imagination of let's come up with the worst case scenario, because a lot of times our brain goes negative instead of in a positive. I think that we're obviously starting to turn that, because we are getting the right information. A lot of information that is being put out is just word of mouth of people thinking or imagining or coming up with scenarios on their own without actual facts. We still do have time before the shelter is fully built, so any of those concerns you have, we have time as a community to talk about what we want it to look like and to work with the county officials to say, how will this affect our services? Will it? And if it does impact, can we talk about how we can, monitor or change that? But right now, we don't know. We are only all guessing, so I think having the facts is important.
And the services, when you say services, I'm very specific to case services for an individual who may be suffering from drug addiction, who may be a domestic violence survivor. I'm talking about services that your township technically wouldn't offer. I'm talking about professionals who are certified in helping this population. I'm not talking about your local police department and your fire department. I'm talking about professionals sitting in front of this vulnerable population and helping them. If they have a drug addiction, they're going to be able to talk to a counselor who's skilled in that conversation and that skill set to help them. I'm not talking about general services. So when we say services, we're talking about case management services that's helping an individual get back to their life as they know it. I'm not talking about your general services to run a town. I'm talking about true human services. So those are the services that we will be offering, and those services will be considered wraparound services, and that's one of the main reasons why we wanted it right next to our human services building, because that building has the professionals there. That building it has them right there, so there was it just made sense. So when we talk services, we're talking about a true skill set, a true skilled case service worker, which I am not. So I wouldn't be able to speak to someone and tell them some of the things that they would need to do to get back on their feet. So I'm not talking about your trained first responders. I'm not talking about that type of service. Does that make sense?
Yes, but can I follow up on that? Because I've been coming to you last year with the same question. You have a medical triage, but are they also going to take an ambulance to the hospital, are we gonna be responsible to do that in West Hampton?
I mean, if there's a need for a medical response, it would be the same way that we would manage it today without a homeless shelter.
Right. And
So it would be
also,
the exact same way.
You said you're going to have security, but do those people have the ability to arrest somebody?
Most security officers don't.
So I believe a
I
lot
mean,
of
the sheriff's department does, and the sheriff's department manages all of our buildings for security. So will it be properly staffed with our sheriff's officers? Absolutely.
Okay.
But again, all county buildings are.
They are, but our police have gone to the county buildings on Woodland Road quite a bit as well.
In partnership with our sheriff's officers, though.
Well, and the sheriff's officers at that time stopped at 5 o'clock. So that's 24 hours a day,
But you're talking about specific scenarios, though.
right?
Okay, so, I can't solve for what we don't know, but it will be 24 hours, right? I don't know if we'll extend hours for our sheriff's officers. We don't know, we don't have data yet to tell us if that's a need. I don't make decisions without data. So I can't make a decision based off of what I think might happen. The scenario you're speaking about is a very specific scenario, and we addressed that scenario. But West Hampton Police responded in partnership with the sheriffs. So we have to make sure we tell the right story.
Okay.
We have to make sure we own the narrative.
I think a lot of people, if they could all talk, one of their concerns is it's going to take more of our fire EMS and police, and we're not getting anything. And if your people are in the shelter, they don't have insurance to pay for an ambulance. Who is going to reimburse West Hampton for all of these services we put out for everyone in the county that's on that road? And I've gone to meetings.
Again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I can't make a decision based without data. I don't know, and listen, I get the annoyance, but Nancy, you're asking me a question as if I have data that we spent over 50 hours with the EMS at the homeless shelter. That's not, you want me to solve for something that is unsolvable at this moment, right? But can we make sure that we have services available? Absolutely. Will we have our Hope One van available? Absolutely. Will we make sure our team is ready to help? But the data does not suggest that we're going to impede on your services for your local town. The data doesn't suggest that. It sounds as if it's a scenario that sounds real to you. I can't solve for that. Let me just be clear. The data that I'm referring to is data from other homeless shelters in other areas of the state. Burlington County has no data because we don't have a Burlington County emergency shelter yet. So what Nancy is referring to is a specific scenario that was addressed, and now you're creating a what-if scenario, and we don't have any data that's relevant to Burlington County, the services that Burlington County would be offering. I can only go by what I hear from other shelters in other parts of the state. So I'm not talking out of both sides of my mouth. I'm saying that there's a shelter in Bergen County. We haven't heard any problems from Bergen County in that type of scenario. So we can only go by what we've heard from other counties, and other counties are a lot more populated than us, one. Two, a county of our size, we need to have a homeless shelter. We need to have a homeless shelter. For a county of our size, we need to have a homeless shelter. So,
But Director, we do have data of how much our EMS are already going to the county properties and how much our police are already going to the county properties, minus the emergency shelter. And it is draining on our resources. And I really wish we could sit down and negotiate.
I would like to see that data.
Something.
Well,
I would like to see that data.
I
Mayor,
got
do you
data
have that data?
from our fire today, if I may, Craig. Craig and I have talked about these things, and one of the things that Craig showed is in 2023, the fire EMS covered between Pioneer, Wood Lane Road, and the 695 Wood Lane Road and the 795 Wood Lane Road, 134 total calls, is that correct? And in 2024, it's down to 124 total calls.
But was that for homeless population or people
No,
seeking help?
that's total.
That's people,
Right,
that's people
total
seeking
calls.
help from the Board of Social Services. They're not homeless people.
Right. That's
Like I
total.
said, we gotta own the narrative. So we don't wanna make it imply that your services are being drained by the homeless population. Your services may be being drained by residents who need legitimate help from the Board of Social Services. That has nothing to do with the homeless population. We're not adding to it, but do you understand what I'm saying, Nancy?
I do.
Your data is
I'm
based
letting
on
you
people
know
who
what-
are not homeless.
I'm letting you know the concerns of,
But do you understand my point? Because your data is based off of a different population.
okay?
I think we need to go, and I've had conversations with the chief as well, just about times they've gone out to other county, even the county school. But that's stuff that we have to take a look at, and if we need to increase, or if we then need to talk to the county, about shared services of some sort, that would have to come later, but right now, we don't have it to know, are we going over there, because if 911's called, they have to go. There's no saying in that.
Right.
But right now, we don't have it to know, are they going there 5 times a day? Okay, that would be extreme, and then we would have to then communicate, like, this is kind of impacting our fire and, police, but if it's not, it's not. We don't have it to say that it's happening now. We are concerned that it may, or I know that's the residents' concern that it may, and I know Chief could say it may impact, but we don't know until if it happens.
Well, the reason why, to be fair, one of the reasons why the chief sent me this is because I met with him a few weeks ago, and, addressing some of the concerns of the people in the room, right? At the end of the day, that's, why we're here. And what I ask is that he keep an eye on where those numbers are. That's why he sent these numbers, right? And then where those numbers are month to month going forward. And I don't think that anyone has an issue if those numbers start to change, or it's a drain on our services, that we have open conversation about what we would need. What I do know is this, is that that's what, $118 million building that you guys are putting up, approximately? And the last time the county built something...
18, not
18.
108.
Well, $118 million sounds a lot better, but nevertheless. But an $18 million building, that's going up. And the county hasn't built anything in decades? When was the last time they built something?
I don't know. It's been
a very long time.
It's been over 30
I
years.
don't think that you put that building up to fail. But I also don't think that we're afraid to have conversations about what needs to be fixed, if anything at all. And it's the same thing that we continue to talk about, right? That we need to fix. The homeless issue that we have at our town right now. The other conversation that I had was with Beloved. Beloved is a nonprofit that comes and helps the homeless in different counties. In different towns in our counties. So I asked specifically, the homeless that we have in our area, what does that look like? Like, is it people who have drug addiction? What does it look like? And she's like, Sandy, a lot of it is, some of it is mental illness. It's like, but some of it is people, they go to work every day. And she just explained some stories. I got you, ma'am. I see you. Just give me one moment. And she said some of it is people who go to work. Oh, Claudine. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't see you back there. You hide. But that's who the person is, that she runs Beloved. So she's giving me this data, right? She said, Sandy, did you realize that a lot of people, they have gym memberships? And I'm like, well, why do they have gym memberships? And she's like, because that's where they go to take showers every day. Or she talked about another person who came in and flew in with their family to be with their family so they can provide them with a better opportunity here in New Jersey. They flew from Florida here to New Jersey, and then their family said, we don't have room for you, we can't help you. She's like, that person is someone that they had to find a hotel room that may benefit from some of these wraparound services. So it's a wide range. And Claudine, if you can, Claudine's can talk a little bit more about our homeless, right? In our situation in our town that matters to us. Claudine, you have a few minutes to discuss that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Claudine Archer. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Beloved Project, which is literally a few minutes away from here, less than 5 minutes away from here. We serve about 790 families a month with food and homelessness every day. And I just want to talk to you about the new shelter, behind the Human Services building and why it's necessary and is a compassionate step for the community. I don't think people realize that the pandemic laid bared out issues that impacted our society that people it wasn't as visible. So it kind of exposed the gravity of substance abuse and also mental illness with people at home, okay? So one of the things that Burlington County did is that they added services or programs like Straight to Treatment and more programs for mental illnesses, so Legacy, more in-home. At the moment right now, we're between 35 and 40% of our population are people that go to work every day. But they cannot afford the it's not even new. They can't afford the 3 times the rent. You have to make 3 times the rent for the apartment or have 620 credit score or in order to afford it. So what they do is that they live in their cars. I can tell you because I give gas cards every day, okay? They have memberships for $10 at Planet Fitness. That's where they take they might make believe they're exercising. They take a shower. They go to work. I give them food just about every day, fresh food that I get donated from great places like Wawa and Chick-fil-A for sandwiches, soup, everything. I have everything at my office. Toiletries, everything you could possibly think of, I have in my office. They come there. Sometimes they rest, they watch TV, they sit in their rooms, but they sleep in their cars. Okay? I give them blankets. I also go to truck stops. I go to gas stations to see these people living in their things. We have people that are now living with their children in these cars. A lot of them are right here in your neighborhood in their cars. You get to sleep in a warm place. Right? And the other thing about the pandemic, there were a lot of people who had homes. Their parents lived in these homes for 30, 40 years, and they passed away during the pandemic. And now people have homes that they weren't prepared to own. They might be able to pay the mortgage, but PSE&G, the boiler goes and all those kind of things happens. And now I'm fighting for them at the sheriff's sale. Okay? So guess what happens? Homelessness happens. Okay, they might have been living in their apartments, now they have their parents' house. They're losing the home that they grew up in. They're homeless. Right now, there are people that have never been homeless living in the woods. You ever pass by the woods and you see a blue tarp? People are in there. I'm just asking people to have a heart and to let you know that it's less than 9% of the people that are drug addicted. We have a combination of, I think it's about 25% of either someone passed away or it was divorce. Then we have domestic violence. You guys don't see it every day. I see it every single day. The person that the mayor was talking about, she was misplaced because of Hurricane Milton. Her family brought her up here only to drop her at the municipal building in Willingboro. Didn't even look back to see if she got in the building. You know what I had to do one night? I had to have her sleep at my office. We've been putting her in a hotel. I partner up with police departments and churches. At night, the police call me and say, hey, Claudine, I have somebody. Some people are afraid, so they want to stay in their car. I had people at West Hampton, the sheriff's department calls me every single Saturday. Because they don't have cars or know how they're going to get back, I offer them a hotel room. But they're not sure. I have a man with stage 4 cancer that slept out there the whole weekend to make sure that he didn't miss his appointment on Monday morning. What happens is we get to sleep in a warm bed. We can open a refrigerator whenever we feel like it. Nobody, when they were 6 years old in kindergarten or whatever, say, I want to be homeless when I get older. I just want people to think about that. The majority right now are people that are working and cannot afford the rents. I'm telling you that's data. I have numbers. So I just want you to think about that. They are not hanging out. They are going to work. And they come back so they can have a place to sleep at night. And I'm telling you, some people are, Walmart, do you think that everybody at, Walmart is one of the places that allow people to park their cars, homeless people, and stay in their cars. We go there at night to make sure that they're okay. Everybody doesn't do that. There are not that many people working at Walmart in their cars. Those are people that are homeless. I knock on the window, I leave a bag on the hood, so they're not afraid. I have women with domestic violence who have dogs in their cars living with them so that they don't get hurt. I just want to make it real for you so you can understand what I see every single day. And the shelter will help this 35, 40%. I'm going to say 60% because I'm going to add those that have been divorced or have people that have passed away. That's what we have right now. I can't tell you before the pandemic, but I'm telling you what has happened as the result of the pandemic. And that's why I just want to think, if they were roaming, they've been roaming. But I'm going to tell you right now, they're in their cars, they're here. We just want them to have a warm, safe place to sleep at night.
So Claudine, one of the reasons why I went to go see Claudine is because aside from the shelter that we're talking about today, you obviously have to recognize that West Hampton has a small issue with homelessness. Anytime people go to the Wawa, people are now avoiding that Wawa, right? Or, you have people who are sleeping at the dollar store, and then when the police come to try to talk to the person or get them help, the dollar store is like, leave him alone, he's fine, he's not bothering nobody, leave him there. And the police doesn't, if I'm not telling the truth, right, like, this is the things that we have to take a look at and see. And I've said this many times. I've been to the Wawa. I followed the homeless guy into the Wawa. He used the bathroom for the third time at the Wawa, right? And then he's hanging out in the bathroom. Then he leaves and he goes to the next store, right? Just to burn what's going on over the day, to stay warm, use the bathroom, etc. I can't address the data, obviously, about what the shelter's going to help, but I wanted to sit down with someone who's a professional who sees it every day, and I think that she will tell you the first question that I asked her was, is this going to help, or is this going to make things worse?
It's going to help, because as far as I know, we have, like the director said, we do have wraparound, but you have to know what wraparound is. A lot of people, human services alone is an all-day process. Even if you're going from one building to the next, okay? They're looking for emergency shelter for you. They're finding a home for you. They're making sure that, do you need, because a lot of people, for me, it's not only giving you a place to think. You have trauma. We have to make sure that, because the problem that you don't deal with is the problem that keeps them bringing them back. So when you have wraparound services right there across, that means, guess what they'll do? They will show up. But if you put the shelter way away from them, they're not going to go. Because guess what sometimes they don't have? For the people that don't have cars, they might not have a bus pass, but they get to go right, they'll make it to the appointment because it's on the grounds. But if you put it someplace else, they'll be like, I'm not going to make it. And if they get there and they're there for 7 hours, are they going to make it back? Will there be a bed for them when they come back? Those are the things that I want people to think outside of the box. Put yourself in people's shoes. If everything is right there, they literally walk across to the parking lot and get services. And you know what it does? If they put them in a hotel or motel, so move them on, then they get to transitional housing. You get that for a year. And while you're doing that, what we do at Beloved Project, while you're in that part of your life, we help you with your credit. That's what we do. We help you with your credit while you're in transitional housing, so that when you're ready to leave, and when I have funding, I give first month's rent and security, so that when they get there, they're 1 month ahead. You understand what I'm saying? Because when the money's small, everybody picks. I'm sure if it hasn't happened to you yet, as my pastor would say, just live. It will. It'll happen to you or your family. When you only have the exact amount of rent and another bill comes, you pinch from that. And you pinch from that until there's no money, then you fall behind. So you still have to eat. You need gas to get to work. It's just life. It's not anybody's fault. It's just how life is. But many are blessed, but the majority aren't. A lot of people are dressed with, they might wear this. I know people that wear the same shirt every single day. They wash it, they hang it, and they wear the same thing every day. They're clean. They want to show up on time because they don't want to get in trouble. They're the first ones at work. They're the last ones to leave because they can't lose their jobs. I just want people to understand that they're going to have wraparound services. And when it's in the building is going to have workforce management, teach you how to write your resumes, help you with your credit. They're going to have those. They're going to have, if you have an issue, you don't have to go to a clinic. They're going to have something in the building. They can eat in the building. They don't have to come to Beloved because they'll have food, they'll have showers in the building. They don't have to go to Planet Fitness. Because every dollar counts. So that's what I'm saying. So the things that you get, you automatically have, I think they deserve a little bit of that too. It's not a hand out, it's a hand up.
One other question for you, and if you can answer this, I know this was a concern for someone, and it's, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to address a lot of the things that I've seen
Yes.
or read that people said, so that we can at least try to get some answers to that. People are concerned about, like, the proximity of the schools and the children, right? Or that their children may be affected by the homeless.
So I'm going to say something to you. Every single school in Burlington County has a homelessness liaison. Every single school have kids that are living in motels that are being bused into the schools. They're already there.
Yes.
Okay? They're learning with their children.
Yeah.
They are learning with their children every day.
It just
Everybody wants the best for their families.
And it's hard to hear an adult side of the story. It's even harder to hear the child side. And being in the schools, it's everywhere.
And guess what?
You just want them to.
I'm just saying, imagine your child. So what Beloved does is that we take packages and, because the whole thing is how do we save the parent more money? How do we help the parent? So we make packages with toiletries and those type of things, because guess what? There's $20 mom doesn't have to spend on that. Just take it to the nurse. We find a way for them to get it so nobody sees it, that actually the kid is getting help. I'm not saying that it's going to be perfect, because we're human. As long as we're human, we're never going to have a perfect world. But give a child a chance. I promise you, people are already here. And guess what? West Hampton is one of the best towns. But New Jersey is also at its highest rate of homelessness. It's not anybody's fault. And another thing, the people that are here are people that grew up here. People go back where they're familiar. Okay? I can tell you that even when people come to our office and we feed them, say, hey, come in for a little while, you know what people do? They watch cartoons. You want to know why? Because that was the best time of their life. If you grew up here and you know it was a good town, if nothing else, you'll know West Hampton is safe. It's your friends that you grew up with. It's people that you know. People go where they're familiar. So they know where to hide, they know where to walk, they know what time the cops come out, they know what time you guys come. They just want to be safe just like you guys want to be safe. They want to be as safe as you. The thing is that they're outside.
If I may, can you just hold tight? I want to make sure that we get people up to ask some questions.
Okay.
And if you can hold tight, certainly.
I just want to know how late you're going to be here tonight, because
So, sir, can you come up to the microphone and state your name, just so we have everything recorded?
I'm sorry. My name is Lee Knaus. I live on Dover Road in West Hampton. I have more to say, but it just seems like we're talking about a lot of things that I think the general public is aware of.
It doesn't seem like it, sir.
Well, I appreciate Rebecca. I appreciate your comments that $3 million could go to her, perhaps, and maybe make things better. I just want to know how much time you're allotting for us tonight, because there's a whole crowd here that probably has a lot to say. And again, I have a lot of concern for the homeless. I really care. And you're asking us to care? Yes, we do. But you're not addressing the real questions that we have.
What's your question, sir?
Does anybody else want to?
No, I mean, you're already up there.
I know.
You guys line,
Yeah,
come up to the podium.
There's a lot of questions.
You
out
need to
there.
come up.
I just asked you, how much time are you going to allot for this?
we have another half hour, 45 minutes. Sir, ask your
45
question.
minutes. Is that going to do it?
Answer question.
We have a question.
Yeah, come up to the podium. I think, do they still need to state
So-
their name and?
So, if I could just, if everybody could let one person speak at a time, when you speak, come up to the podium and state your name. A couple things, just so we can get through everybody that wants to speak. There's going to be a 3-minute time limit on each individual, and also try not to repeat what somebody else said. That way, again, if you could only limit when you're speaking to when you're up at the microphone with your name, it looks like a line's forming down the middle, that'll work. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Davidson. I live at 32 Tallowood Drive. I'm going to piss a lot of people off here. First off, I'm not a NIMBY. I don't want this not in my backyard idea, on one hand, because we do need to help people. But on the flip side of this, I've lived in towns where we have done this in California, where we built something and everybody from the county came over, and there was an overflow, and then there was an adjustment. I'd like to see the data. Where is that data presented? If I could read it, that's great. That's my main concern is you're going to build something for a good cause, and then you're going to have an influx that you can't handle. What's the plan? How do we handle it? When that happens, where's the data from the other counties? Where can I find it? That's my one question. Second thing is, I appreciate you being here tonight. You kind of did yourself a disservice by saying control the narrative, because that comes across to a lot of people as if kind of condescending. And I know that's not your intent, because I actually want to see...
I didn't say...
I know it's not your intent.
I said to Nancy, you need to control the narrative because she gave a scenario that wasn't accurate.
No, I appreciate that.
No, but you're getting a hand clap as if...
I don't want the hand clap because I'm just...
But Nancy needs to give accurate information. That's all I'm saying.
So I understand that's not your intent, but when certain things are said, it's perception is reality.
I get it.
I understand it's not always the case. So how do we address, if we do have an influx, and what does that look like for the town, and what does that look like for the county? Because I lived in 29 Palms, California. There was a Marine Corps base. They built a shelter there. It was for that section of San Bernardino. We already had a homeless problem, and they had an influx because they were going to that area. And then we had an additional strain on the town services. So that's a legitimate question. I'd like to see some sort of data, some sort of information on. That's it. I'm not one of these people who's going to be like, I'm against it no matter what, because it's a human being, it's a human life. I'm a Christian. I believe we're all made in the image of God. So that's a person's image. So it's just a reasonable question I'd like asked.
So to answer your question about the data on the influx, so obviously we don't know, but my intent will be to work with the team to make sure we still have our partnerships in place. Right now, we don't have a homeless shelter, so we have partnerships in place like Beloved that help us, other Catholic charities that help us with our homelessness. So we will continue those partnerships. So when if there is an influx, we will still have those partnerships in play.
I'm going to ask one more question. I'm going to sit down, because then I'll let other people go after me if you answer. But you said other counties had data. So why can't we see their data as a baseline?
Oh, we can, but this is for the first time asking.
So, no. So that was my question in general.
For sure.
So what is the data from the other counties? How do we access it so that the people here can have that idea?
Oh, okay.
Instead of us talking nebulous.
Gotcha. Well, I'll get you that.
Thank you.
That's not a problem.
Lori Hustos, 14 Canobie Drive. I just have like two things to say without getting interrupted, please. Are children allowed at this emergency shelter?
No.
Children? What do you do when someone has kids? And also, wait a minute, please, I'm not done. What happens when their time is up? What is it, 30, 60 days? Do they get let out on the streets? And my last thing is, I've heard the word professionalism a lot. I don't know about you guys, but our police and fire are the most professional people that I happen to know. Thank you.
You don't want to answer to your question?
So do you want to say for the... Yeah. I can answer your question. So no, children are not allowed. So this is only for adult men and women. For families or folks with children, we will maintain our current partnerships that we have where we send families to. When they are back on their feet, it is our hope that we're putting them in a place where they can have a job and housing. So we're not putting them back out on the street. Was that your question? What's happening to them after?
I was wondering, because it doesn't state in here anything, what happens to them after they're 30 or 40 days?
Yeah, I don't think...
They go to transitional housing.
Right.
We want to get them, and that's why the wraparound services immediately is important. So transitional housing happens after...
If I may, like that's one of the questions, so I've been asking questions, right? That's one of the questions I ask, like what happens after the 60 days, 90 days? But somehow, we have put a time frame on it. They have a time frame on it.
We didn't put a time frame on that. That didn't come from the county. And the professional comment was that, professionalism, was that for me? Did I imply?
Throwing that word out lot, and
Did I imply someone was not
No, no,
professional?
no. She's just giving them a shout out.
Okay. All right.
Thank
I
you.
know, I wondered that too.
Hi, Christina Getz at 109 West Maple Tree Drive. I might have a different perspective than a lot of people in this room. My day-to-day deals with kids, and a lot of them are homeless, whether it be from house fires, domestic violence like you talked about, parents couldn't afford the house, and they live in a lot of hotels in our area. They still go to school. I see them as patients. I mean, I know the police department goes to the hotels a lot of times. Like, why can't they be allowed in the shelter and their parents pay for those services, where that's more of a safe place for them than a hotel where a lot of crime and things happen?
Why can't the children be allowed in the shelter? So we would have to, is that your question? Why can't children be allowed in the shelter? So it's not that they can't be allowed in the shelter. We're just not building the shelter for homeless children, and we will continue with our partnerships. We would have to have a whole different set of things in place to house children. The primary thing would be education. We don't have that type of infrastructure in place to do that today. So if that's the direction that we're going to go in, that takes a whole different type of conversation.
Do any of the other counties have a shelter like this that allows children and with their families?
The counties that we looked at Bergen and Camden, and they were just adult shelters.
Okay.
Just adult. And we maintain, just like these other counties, we maintain the partnerships that help the children or a family with children so they can get the help.
Okay, so then they're basically still stuck in hotels all the time?
Well, I wouldn't.
I'm hoping that maybe it'll be a little bit different, so that way they can get them out of some of the scenarios that they're in that, I see every day.
But are you saying these are children without parents?
With parents,
So,
but like a lot of the hotels in the area, there's a lot of crime, a lot of police reports and things that happen, and they witness things. I think it would be better for them to also have a place in a shelter, pulling them away from that situation and away from that living environment.
that's a great point, and I'm happy to take that as a takeaway. But I would like for, we definitely have a lot of private resources for families, but it sounds like some of those families may not know about the resources. So I would encourage you to go to our website, reach out to us, our Housing Hub, our Board of Social Services. We have those informations for those private resources for families with children.
Okay.
So I would encourage you, it sounds like, I don't know why someone would still be in that, like, do they know about the Beloved Project? Do they know about our other partnerships that we have? Do they know about the Housing Hub?
Didn't know about it, so I'll take.
Right, and we also have a Housing Hub that also assists with immediate housing needs. So it's very possible that these folks may not know about the services that already exist.
Okay. And then I had a question from a neighbor that couldn't make it tonight. She wanted to know, is there a process for turning away people that are late, like if the door's locked, or if they're like non-compliant? Do they help them find transportation or a place to stay? But I guess you kind of like.
Well, it's a 24-hour homeless shelter.
Okay,
So there won't be a doors
Doesn't
locked, yeah,
matter.
it won't be a doors locked scenario. When you say non-compliant, you mean like if someone's being unruly?
Yeah.
I mean, security will be there, it'll be housed with the sheriff's department. Like, we will have, our consumers who we're helping, our staff there, we will have a safe environment for everyone,
Okay.
okay?
Now, with the wraparound services, like, do people that use the Beloved Project, like everybody that can't make it in, let's say if it's full, there's 60 people, will they still be able to like?
Absolutely.
Will we have more resources to get people to those appointments?
Absolutely. Just as we do today, we manage it best we can today without a homeless shelter. When we get the homeless shelter, to Claudine's point, it's just going to make things a lot more easy because she won't have to pay for transportation to get them services. The wraparound services include services like mental health services. If there's someone with a disability, they will be able to get disability services. If there are someone with a substance use disorder, all of that stuff will be there on in the campus, in that building. So they don't have to leave to get help. They don't have to leave to go eat. They don't have to leave to take a shower. We will have them have all of those services available in the shelter.
All right, Ms. Katz, your 3 minutes up. Can you let somebody else speak, please? All right, thank you.
Hi, John Mumbauer, West Hampton, Lancaster.
Ma'am, you had mentioned that the security would be in conjunction with the sheriff's department and our local police. So what are the duty days and the duty hours for the sheriff's department that will be allocated for that security at that facility?
We haven't figured that out yet.
Okay.
I mean,
What
we don't
is
have a
the
building
current,
yet.
what is
We
the
don't have a building yet.
current sheriff's department duty days and duty hours for the current facilities?
Well, the facility closes, the Human Services building closed now at 4:30? We close at 5? It closes at 5. So the building now is closed at 5. So we don't, the sheriff is also gone at 5.
Okay. So would it be reasonable to expect, based on your comments, that if this is going to be a 24/7 operation, that we will have 24/7 sheriff support with this facility?
That is a reasonable expectation, yes, sir.
Okay. So to Committeewoman Mungro's and the mayor's comments regarding some sort of restitution in the future if, for any services that were provided from our township, professionals, we might address that if there's a need. So I know, living in West Hampton since 1992, that this township has tried numerous times, numerous committee people, to go to the county to get some sort of restitution for what our professionals provide for services, and they failed. All right, the county said no. What reason can you give me to believe, as well as my committee people here, that you will be successful in getting that restitution? Because the taxpayers in this township, all right, this is not Medford, this is not Moorestown, okay? We have people here who are living paycheck to paycheck trying to pay their rent or whatever. And in order to keep the taxes low so that they can, stay in their houses, we need to be thinking about them, okay? And when we talk about 123 calls, that doesn't tell us dollars, all right? An ambulance call is very expensive, even if you have health insurance. So if it's falling on the taxpayers here, I would like to know what that translates to in dollars, okay?
So, Mr. Wimbauer, what I would say, and you know I'm not cutting you off, I think with most things, right, there's always sometimes there's a criticism about relationships, but I think that we have to be able to have an open dialogue with the county, right, and what hurts our residents, or what puts us in a better position. And I have yet to try to have a conversation with anyone and they not, be responsive to that. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I asked Craig to make sure that we keep the data. So if we need another EMS, I'm not saying that they're going to pay for it, and I'm obviously not putting a director on the
No,
spot
I
to
mean,
say that.
I'm happy to answer the question, though. I'm happy to answer the question.
But we can ask to say, okay, this is what our calls look like beforehand, this is what they look like now. We need an additional EMS. Is that something that you guys can help us out with? And this is the data that supports that.
Right.
And I think that we have to have that conversation and support the data to be able to do that now. What people have failed with in the past, I can't take credit for, but 90% of what I say, I do. And obviously, for me to meet Claudine and have a conversation with her, not yesterday, but weeks and weeks ago, and to have conversations with Craig, and conversations with Ferd, and conversations with everyone about what we need to do to be prepared to not keep our life the same in West Hampton, but to make our life better. You have my commitment that I'm going to visit with Craig. Craig sent me this today. Anybody can talk to him. He sent me this today because this is something that I asked for, to see where we're at, to see where we're going, and then to have a conversation and say, hey, listen, this is what we look like. We need a little bit of help. This is a strain. Or can you guys help us with a police officer? Can you help us with this? There's no shame in asking for help. And I think that anybody knows that I don't mind.
Yeah, because right now, if this is a 24/7 operation, we already know that usually on the night shift, our professional services, our numbers go down. All right, we're shorter shift. Would that be a true statement?
Fair enough. We have two people that go out, but I would say, Committeeman Carr, if I'm not mistaken, what do we have, like 82 sheriff officers?
Yeah.
How many officers do we have? 30 or 28? 24.
But how many are, like, if it's a 24/7 operation, if from 1700 to 0500 in the morning, what does that look like as far as how many people are on shift compared to your 9 to 5 or 8 to 4?
People on the shift. So what I'm saying is, if the debt director saying that they're going to use the sheriff's officers, there's 82 sheriff's officers, right? Like, so.
But we don't know if they're actually going to be available during that time.
So to answer your question, sir, yes, we will definitely remain in partnership with West Hampton Township, but you also made a comment about folks going to the county before asking for help. Was it within the last 6 years? Because I can only speak to when I was in office.
It's probably been longer than that.
Right, so I can't, you understand why I don't know what happened before I got there.
Right, yeah, I'm just making that for
No, yeah, that's fine.
many
Well,
people
I'm
who make that
saying-
comment. I just know in the past, others have tried and they failed. And I know I'm probably coming up on my minute. And the last
3
thing
minutes is
is,
up, sir.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
the last thing, and please take this with a grain of salt. We know we have 3 committee people who work for the county.
Yep.
Okay? All right, now, I have to ask myself, what the positions I put them in as far as their full-time employment, and trying to balance that with representing us rightfully. Okay? So I think that's a fair question.
I think that the question, to answer your question, if I could answer this question, I'm the one who asked Claudine to come here. I don't think anybody else knew she existed, right? Huh?
Never mind.
Right, who? I'm sorry, somebody said something? All right. So I'm saying that I asked Claudine to come here to be able to give an explanation about what's going on, right? I've been in contact with Felicia to have her come here, right? So what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter, wherever my position is representing West Hampton Township. You don't have a microphone, so give me 1 minute. My position is to represent West Hampton Township, and I think that I've shown that in my actions over and over again. And will continue to show that. And hold me to it.
All right. Thank you for your time. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
If I can make a comment, because I am one of the 3, I'm not going to lie about that, and everybody knows that, but I do have, feel as I have no conflict. I'm an educator, I'm a house, I'm a mother, a wife, and all of those things, and my family is first. And then next, I would say I'm an educator. I've been in education 25 years, and the position I now hold, I deserve. I have a certification to be in that position, and I feel that has no bearing on my position here as deputy mayor either, because I live in this town and I care about the West Hampton residents. And as I said before, I had something written to speak on, but I can see human services from my deck. I am right behind the firehouse. So when I say I live in Tarnsfield, I live right there. So I will tell you that the fear was there for me when I first heard some people coming to our committee meetings before. But now with the information that I have, I'm proud to be here, and I feel that we need to be proud that this shelter is in our town and make it something people are talking about that we did good, not that, oh, it's so terrible. We have to think about the narrative that we're putting out there to other potential residents and other families that may come to our community, and we're making it that our town's going to go to crap because of this. Like, if you truly feel that, we all have that option to leave West Hampton, sell our homes, and go. But if we also have the option to come together, you do have that option. But we all have the option to come together as a community and say this is still a great place to live, and because we're putting a shelter there, maybe it's now even better. That is our option. But if you want to run and be fearful, run and be fearful.
Sir?
Good evening. My name is A.J. Casparo. I live on Sherwood Court. We moved here in 2017. I have a wife and 2 teenage boys. And I wanted to tell you about the fear you said, addressing our fears. Within the last 2 months, one of my boys and my wife were followed back to their vehicles at the Wawa up there right behind the development. And now you're going to bring more of these folks in here. I did a little bit of research, and it looks like Burlington County has approximately 930 homeless. This $21 million project is only going to hold 60 beds. What mechanism do you have in place to communicate with other townships, or are they going to continuously be sending their homeless here? Because this will be the only county-run homeless shelter in Burlington County.
What mechanism do we have to communicate with
Right, so you have...
other municipalities?
Well, yeah, you have 60 beds, right? So you have the entire Burlington County, all the townships in Burlington County are going to be sending their homeless here
to West Hampton, which only has 60 beds.
Yeah, I don't know if it works that way, that they send homeless people to a homeless shelter. The homeless shelter is there to help folks who really want to get help. And we will continue to do that, as we do today. Without a shelter, we have the housing hub. We have, 211. Anybody can dial for emergency housing assistance. They could dial 211 if they found themselves on the street right now and the county services, the building is closed, but you could call 211 to get help. And then we partner with places like Beloved to make sure we get those folks emergency housing within the first 90-something hours of their homelessness state. So I don't know how to best answer your question without saying that 60 beds, wraparound services, we don't anticipate people to live there forever, and we will continue the partnerships that we have today.
Right, I guess my question was, how are you going to control the influx of 900 homeless to the only homeless shelter that you have in Burlington County?
I think that's...
Wait, I had a question if you could define homelessness, because it doesn't mean they're all on the street.
Yeah, and that's correct. I was going to say that next,
Yeah.
sir. So the data tells you that if you have been without a permanent residence for 6 months or greater, you're deemed homelessness. So that means you could take in your favorite cousin, and that favorite cousin could be living with you and still deemed homeless. So just because the data says we have 900 and some odd people that are homeless, it doesn't mean that they're homeless with nowhere to go. We're talking about the population that's most vulnerable, that literally has no family and nowhere to go.
I understand that.
Okay.
I also heard terms like mental illness, substance abuse,
Yes.
and domestic violence.
Yes.
Although this is going to be open during the day, what are you going to have in place to regulate these folks with substance abuse and mental illness during the day? I know that the shelter will be open, but how are you going to regulate where these people are going during the day? Because let's be honest,
They'll be in the
Carlsbad already
shelter.
they have
The shelter doesn't, we're not telling them to leave during the day. Is that your question? They don't have to leave during the day.
Okay.
Is that your, and I want to make sure I'm answering your question, sir. Was that your question?
Yeah, like how are you going to regulate?
They'll be in the shelter getting the services that they need.
Okay. And just one last statement. I did a little bit of research across the United States, and it seems that within a tenth of a mile of homeless shelters, crime is up over 50%. That's all I wanted to say.
May I add to some information? If anyone does follow Facebook, you might remember that I put a chart on Facebook, and yes, the director is correct. We have the second highest amount of homeless people, but we have the lowest amount of unsheltered people. We have only 1% of those that are considered homeless unsheltered. Now, unsheltered doesn't include those living in cars, but it does include those living on wabas and tents and things like that. And the county has, especially with Catholic Charities and Beloved, found a lot of places for these people to live, but they're considered homeless. And the laws of New Jersey also states that if you're homeless, then your children have a right to go to the school where they last had a home. So if we have someone who last had a house in East Hampton, but they're homeless here, East Hampton has to, I believe, right?
Yeah.
They have to
educate that child.
But yes, they're doing a good job, and only 1% are considered unsheltered. But I would hope, though, that we could get some people out of cars and shelter them in a better place. And I'm not picking sides, but I do believe we need to work with facts. Okay? So the county has done a good job trying to get people who are unsheltered. It's just there's more that needs to be done. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lynn Canals. I live on Dover Road in West Hampton. And I'm probably going to be echoing some of the things that have been said before, but obviously I was in line, that's where I am. And so one of my questions is, I know the statistics did come out about the number of homeless in Burlington County being so high, around 1,000. And if this is only a 60-bed facility, it's only about 6% of those people that you're going to help. So with that in mind, was this the only location that was ever considered for this building? Because it seems like that plot of land, because if you, between the back parking lot and the farm next door, it doesn't seem all that big. Was the scope ever considered about the grander need And could there be a better place to put it that wouldn't be in such close proximity to preschools, other schools, et cetera, and next to a couple thousand residences where a lot of people have these concerns? And my other point in relation to this is the fact that only adults will be permitted here. Was there ever any scope considered to address homeless families? Because it is a huge need. I know one of my sons is a teacher in Beverly, and he told me he has 6 homeless children in just a small elementary school. It's a huge need. So was there ever any more of a scope considered for this, or was this a self-limited exploration because of the land that was...
Did you say self-limited?
Well, yeah, because you're looking at a very small plot of land over there. You can't do any more than what you're going to do. Is that correct?
We're doing more than we've done.
Well,
And
but
to your point...
If you look at the need, if you look at the
So
need...
are you saying that you want more beds? Are you saying that you want a bigger
Would it not serve
shelter?
the population more to look somewhere else within Burlington County where you would have more opportunity to provide more services than right over there?
Sure, I can, that's fine. Yeah.
One of the things that when you don't know, so I'm not doing agency. There are about 29 residents, right? That's number one. Not only that, we all work together. We say this in the fall, Catholic Charity, Providence. So I think that's the thing. So the shelter will take care of the singles while we help the families.
But,
So,
yeah.
And we partner up with homeowners to help them have a stable place. I think the thing is the knowledge part. There's a piece of it that you don't understand. We don't just throw away the children and throw away the families. We take care of the singles here. They take care of the singles while they allow us, the other agencies and the other partners and the churches, because we partner with churches also, and we'll pay for people to live, to be in hotels or not the dirty hotels, but the hotels for the church wants to keep a good face also. But families are being taken care of by agencies like us. So the county will do the singles, and we will do the families. And if they have the overflow, we have certain houses saying, we'll dedicate 2 rooms to social services. So then when they all have overflow, then they can come over to us.
Right, and also, the other part to your question, we did look at other locations. We did. That was the initial part of your question as well. But it came down to why it made more sense to put it here next to our Human Services building, where we already have established services. We already have county, state, and local relationships in place right here. Right? And it just made sense. The Board of Social Services is right here. So we're trying to run an efficient, process for this vulnerable population. So we looked at other locations. This location is where it made the most sense.
What other locations did you look at? I'm curious.
Well, I'm not going to go into all of the details, but we looked throughout the county. We looked but it made sense to be here.
Because the true concern is the safety in the community, and I know that you say it's a 24-hour shelter, and they will have services during the day, but what if they refuse? And I can give you a personal example. My daughter-in-law, she had twin brothers, and they had serious drug problems, and they periodically went to shelters, they went to halfway houses, but then they always relapsed. Sadly, one of them was hit by a car in July. He lost his battle with addiction. Very sad, but he refused to help. He was being offered and always relapsed. And so if these people don't want the help that you're offering to give them during the day, and they go out and they wander in the neighborhood, that's a concern. It's a true concern.
I understand your concerns. I really do.
And I know it seems
I can hear everyone. I can hear your comments. So you can come to the mic and say it.
Yeah,
So it's okay.
It seems like there's a lot of unknowns that you're saying. Well,
It is, and
we don't have.
it is a lot of unknowns, but I'm here to address your questions now. I'll come back every month if I have to. My point in being here, ma'am, is to let you all know that I don't have a problem having these conversations. The noise that's been happening on Facebook and all the other social media realms, I'm saying here, I'm right here. I don't have a problem having these conversations.
But rather than have so many unknowns on something
But
that you want
you-
to proceed with,
Listen-
that's an element of risk there.
It is not an element of risk when we're helping the most vulnerable population in our county. This is a need. This is a need. This is a need, so it's not a risk. It's actually more risk for us to not have a shelter.
But maybe this isn't the best.
So because I could flip the argument and say, well, what do we do today? What do we do today? What's been your problem? How have we imposed on your services today? Because they don't have anywhere to go today other than our extended partnerships. So I could flip the same argument. We are more at risk with not having a shelter.
Or do we
So,
build
ma'am,
this and
ma'am.
wait till we have a problem, and then we say,
I can talk to you after I've spoken to everyone. I'm happy to come to the side and finish our
but
conversation.
honestly, I don't think there's anyone in this room who thinks that this is not a need that needs to be.
I'm just here to address all the questions, and I'll
Excuse me,
talk to
ma'am.
you after this.
Can you let the next person speak, please?
Oh, certainly.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Faganiak, and I live at 46 Dover Road. Ms. Hopkins, on October 30th, during your opening ceremony, I think on the news, you kind of made a very rude and snide comment by saying, I don't know where these residents have been the past 2 years. My question to you is, where have you been? You did no outreach into the community that was being affected the most. You didn't try to have any kind of conversation with the West Hampton residents to see if we would have any kind of questions or concerns. We know why, and it's because you knew you would get pushback. An integral part of applying for a grant is to reach out to the community that the proposal will be affecting in order to communicate the impact of the project clearly. I have a bachelor's degree in public health, and I've taken 2 semesters of grant writing, so I know what I'm talking about on this subject. You did nothing to make us feel safe or even heard. We are not heartless people. We do care about the homeless, and we know that this is a big need that needs to be issued. We are merely fighting the location that you chose. Before you continue to say about the Human Services Building, you got a $3 million grant. That should be enough to convert an empty warehouse or the empty BCC campus, add a Human Services Building there, which will create more jobs within the county. We also never got an answer to what happens when the grant runs out. Does it fall on the West Hampton residents? Most likely. We are tax-paying citizens who are supposed to represent and to work for us, and it feels like we're working for you. There are families who live here and are raising their kids, and it feels like we have not been put into consideration of this. During the county meeting, we were told by the deputy commissioner that everything we said would be taken into consideration and that we'd be getting more information soon. That's not what happened. Instead, everyone scurried behind our backs and quickly planned a groundbreaking ceremony. And please do not insult my intelligence and tell me that it was not last minute, because it was not on the county website, nor was it on the West Hampton website as an event that was planned. And it was a day before that the media release went out. That's the only reason we knew about it. It was brought up to the county that there was 2 daycares across the street, 2 middle schools within a mile distance, and the special needs education classes that will pretty much share the same parking lot. Will the people that be taken to the homeless shelter be screened for Megan's Law? I will put children's safety and well-being over everyone and everything. If that makes me the devil, then I will wear those horns proudly. Although the deputy director said we didn't throw a dart at the map and pick a random location, we did our research. He went on to comment to a resident at the ceremony that he did not realize that there were so many schools in the area. So either someone's lying or you're really bad at doing research. And you can also made a comment to a resident saying that when you first applied for the grant, there was no specified location. So I'm not sure how you do outreach when there's no location specified. I also think it was quite concerning that you did have the groundbreaking ceremony a week before election where you were up for re-election. You specify in the grant that 34% of homeless are under the age of 18, yet this center is only serving adults, so I don't see why that was a need to be put in there. The speaker at the ceremony even noted how excited he was to have a place for the Camden Overflow to go. This is supposed to be for Burlington County. Are our homeless going to be put first before everyone else, or is it just whoever shows up?
Excuse me, Miss, can you wrap up and let Ms. Hobson respond?
And as for the West Hampton Township Committee, it would be nice if you stood up for us and spoke for us or gave us any information. Outside of Nancy here, we did not hear from any of you. I got no information. No one knew anything. When the mayor was asked, he said he didn't know much about it. Yeah, somebody he went to school with, Senator Troy Singleton, was the one responsible for getting the $2.83 million of the funding. So just something to consider.
So that was a lot. So let me try to answer what I can remember you saying. I made the comment that I don't know where these residents have been because this is not new. We announced this 2 years ago, as I said previously. We did announce this 2 years ago. It was on our website under our agenda items, which is...
So you said you didn't know other way other than county meetings to reach out to the Burlington
Let me
County.
just finish. Can I just finish?
Yes, yes.
I didn't interrupt you, ma'am. So we're required to publish our agendas 48 hours before our meetings. Our meetings are public meetings, and we meet every second and fourth Wednesday. Every second and fourth Wednesday. So, and the agenda is published 48 hours before the meeting. So I don't, as I said before, I think I directed my comment, I don't know what else I can do because we have 40 towns in Burlington County, so I can't make residents read the agenda or come to the meetings. I can't do that. So when I said I don't know where these residents, that's what I meant, because we publish, we have to do certain things as a commissioner board.
Yes.
So I'm not quite sure. And then, oh gosh, you said a lot. What else? I'm sorry. What was? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Megan's Law.
Megan's Law. So you're anticipating that these
So I was wondering if that will be, because they're surrounded by so many children, if that's going to be also something you're going to look into as well.
Absolutely. Safety is our first, public safety is obviously, and I mean no disrespect, and I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence, but public safety is Burlington County's first priority, whether we have a homeless shelter or not. So if we feel that someone's in danger, that's the whole reason why we were talking about making sure that we have security, 24-hour security. That's the whole purpose of that. So unfortunately, I hope that we don't have to address it, but we absolutely will address it if there's a need to address it, if that we realize that there's something that we need to solve for, and it is a matter of public safety. 100% absolutely, we will work on that and solve for it. What else did you mention?
Just the fact that...
The groundbreaking, when we did the groundbreaking, so because you think the groundbreaking was because I was on, up for election?
I think it was multiple.
The reality is, the people who were going to vote for me were going to vote for me whether I had the groundbreaking before or after, right? That's the reality. It didn't get me any votes. Probably got me less votes, right?
Depends.
It doesn't. The reality is, if you were going to vote for me, you were going to vote for me because we kept Burlington County tax rate down. You were going to vote for me because we still offer Burlington County services to residents without having to raise your taxes. You were going to vote for me because we've improved services for all residents, whether you voted for me or not. If you were going to vote for me, you were going to vote for me. And if you weren't, you weren't. So the groundbreaking date was based off of availability, not an election cycle. Availability of those who needed to be there. Availability, what it means availability. And as I said prior, I can hear the comments, so it's probably better if folks come up to the mic so I can have a conversation with everyone, because I'm here because I am an elected official and I have a responsibility to all residents, whether you voted for me or not. I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence. Somebody may feel like I'm being condescending, but the reality is, I'm being looked at as someone, and I've received emails from, I'm sure, people in this room who have had race-based emails to me as a black commissioner saying the county shelter is only for black people and it should be in Willingboro. I didn't come here with any malice in my heart. I came here as an elected official with a responsibility to the residents of West Hampton as while we're doing this. I didn't come here as an angry black person. But that's the energy that I've been receiving for the past 2 years. I've received multiple emails that are race-based, saying that only black people need it and it should be in Willingboro, which is the town that I live in, or Pemberton. I didn't come here with that energy. I came here because I wanted to address the concerns of the taxpayers and of the residents of West Hampton, New Jersey. That's why I'm here. And I'm not trying to insult anyone. That I would never do that. I have no reason to do that. So it is my hope that you can receive these comments in the best of ways, but the groundbreaking was when we had it, and I didn't think it was going to garner me any votes. In fact, everyone told me to do it after the election. And everyone on our team, some of my supporters, some of my family members, oh, you should wait till after the election because you're going to lose votes. Literally was told to me. But I am a woman of faith, and I stand on my morals and my values, and I know that this is a need. And then the last thing I'll say, the speaker said that now folks will have a place to go from Camden County. The reality is we've been partnering with Camden County because they have the nearest shelter. We've been sending our residents to Camden County for the past, I've been in office for 6 years. We've been sending our residents to Camden County because they have a shelter. We've sent residents to Mercer or to other places where we knew we can get them help. So it's not a matter of, of course it's for Burlington County residents, but are we going to give up our partnerships when we need them? Absolutely not. We have to remember that this is not a Burlington County problem. This is a civility problem. This is a human problem. And I'm trying to solve for the population, the homeless population in Burlington County, but this is not unique to Burlington County, and we're not going to give up our partnerships because one day we may need Camden County, Bergen County, or whatever other county services that we need, and to partner with other counties to make sure we can solve for this. And that is my intent here. My intent is for no other reason, and I'll stand on this. If you were going to vote for me, you were going to vote for me, and if you weren't, you weren't. You didn't, that groundbreaking did not garner me any new votes.
What about the grant running out? What
The grant is, and I'll just, as you're walking away, ma'am, the grant will be, we always apply for grants for all of our services. It's as you know, as a grant writer, you constantly are applying for grants, and we will continue to do that. We do that for all of our services today. Say that one more time. Okay. So yeah, we always constantly apply for grants though, for everything. So that will continue to be in play. And then obviously, it's a part of our capital budget as well. And then operating costs will come out we have a homeless trust fund that is, that it kind of lives in our county clerk's office. So whenever you do any recording fees from the county clerk's office, there's a portion of those fees that goes to our homeless trust fund. We had that trust fund since 2019, so monies will be used from that trust fund to manage our day-to-day operational costs. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Of course. My name is Mike Murray. I live in Quail Hall Drive in West Hampton. Thanks for your time today. You answered a lot of questions I had about children and, not accepting them into the shelter at this time. So I have questions about the capacity. So you mentioned 60 beds. Is that the capacity for people that can be helped during the day, or is that just helping them?
Well, yeah, so we looked at, like I said, we looked at other shelters, and we kind of mirrored mostly what Bergen County was doing. They've had their shelters been quite, it's been a good model for us to use. So we kind of built our, framework from that. So they have a 60-bed shelter. They're a much bigger county. Okay. So we use that framework to kind of start with the 60 beds.
Got it. How do you determine, is it like a first come, first serve? Is it based on how other shelters and counties operate?
Yeah, so we're going to make sure that they get assessed. So we'll have case management on 24 hours. We'll have that case manager, that assessment being done 24 hours a day. So as someone comes in, they'll be assessed, and we'll know immediately, is it drug addiction? Is it mental health? Whatever the case may be. Is it domestic violence? Whatever the case may be. And then we will base the services off of that assessment. And then we will start the services and get them on the right track so they can move to transition.
I guess one of the fear-based concerns is say somebody comes late at night,
Mhm.
you don't have capacity to be able to help them.
Mhm.
So is that in turn where you're working with your partners to support
Absolutely.
them? So is that the process
Absolutely.
and how that works?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's really what we do today, right? But we just don't have the actual brick and mortar. So today, if someone could call 211, that's how you can get emergency services. It's the same exact thing. We would see what provider is available, what partner is available to help us. And there are times when, as Claudine stated, she's getting in her car, she's going to help someone who is now facing emergency homelessness to get them off the street and get them shelter for the evening. So it would be in the same realm, except they won't be on the street waiting for help. It'll be the same setup, if you will.
The only last question I had, so you answered most of the questions about children. That was the only disappointment I had, was that there was no capacity to help children
Yeah.
at the shelter. Is there plans to grow the shelter and the capacity and the ability to be able to support homeless families eventually?
We have not started those discussions. It's definitely on the table, but we haven't started those discussions. But thank you for that.
Thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm
Hello.
Lisa Tricocci. I live on 29 Talwood Drive. I have a couple questions, more so than comments. You keep saying that there's going to be this ongoing communication about, services, and if we need them, the county may or may not provide them. My question is, why can't we, as West Hampton residents, and you as a county, provide us with a written or a contract that says for every one resident cost, we're going to pay you $300 for your services. Instead of going back later and saying, hey, you said you were going to help us, and now you say, well, we don't have the funds to help you. So you're going to have to increase your taxes on West Hampton residents. The problem with this whole, we're going to honor it, we're going to do this, is that there's no binding contract. So you don't have to honor anything. And yes, I'm sure you're all honorable people, but who says in 4 years when this honoring needs to happen, that you'll be here, or that our mayor will be here? And then the new mayor says, well, I never had anything to do with that. And you say, and then the person to replace you says, I didn't have anything to do with that. We don't have to give you any money back. So who is going to supply the money to provide EMS, fire, emergency, when you tell me that the sheriff's department only works till 4? You may or may not have sheriff's departments at night, and an ambulance ride costs $600 for a West Hampton resident, but it costs nothing for a shelter resident. Who is reimbursing West Hampton for those prices? And then when that happens, how are we making up the deficit that we are going to incur that the county now has given us?
Right. That's a great question. Are you ready for me to answer?
I'm ready.
Okay. So we haven't gotten there yet, but I would think that we would go into a shared services agreement. And that shared services agreement would cover all of us, because I don't know if I'll be here, to your point, I don't know if I'll be here in 4 years. But a shared services agreement is what we will look to go enter into once we have the data and we know what those services are costing us and how much the county is now going to agree to reimburse the township. We would have all of that laid out in a shared services agreement.
Okay.
And
Well, we
then,
already
if I
know
may
that an
answer-
ambulance ride costs $600, so why can't we
I wanted to answer
provide that?
a part of that question as well, that was directed at me. So we would like to believe that right now, our EMS are just getting West Hampton residents.
No.
Our EMS are getting, but in the same, as someone who has been with someone who's gotten picked up by an ambulance, we also get ambulances that come in from other townships to help West Hampton residents. So I understand what you're saying. I'd like to believe that our fire, even our police, are just helping us. But they help other neighboring towns, and those other neighboring towns help us, which is the shared service that she spoke about. And I would believe that those things still happen. Now, to piggyback off of her question, if I may, and maybe Craig, you can answer this a little better as well, do we see where our EMS would be affected to help? Like, if our EMS is here, if we're helping other towns that are local, and someone else comes in utilizing an EMS from somewhere else, that doesn't really affect us. That would mean to say, like, something would happen in the shelter, and then someone from the shelter would call, and someone from EMS would come over to help. But if they have those services there that are helping them, I don't know how that would help, would affect
That's the point,
us.
is they don't. They have triage,
Yes.
They have the ability to triage, and they can say, hey, we need to call the ambulance because they need to go to the hospital. And the ambulance they're going to call is West Hampton Townships. They're not going to call Willingboro, and they're not going to call Lumberton, and they're not calling Mercer County, or they're not calling anywhere else. They're calling West Hampton. That's a $600 ride every time somebody gets in an ambulance.
So my question would
And we
be,
get billed as West Hampton residents for that.
well, the insurance gets billed, but I mean, if they don't have insurance,
I get
right?
billed, but then I get billed the overflow.
So let me ask this, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, which I tend to do sometimes, and I can't help myself. But is that any different than the people who are currently getting help right now? Like, how often is our EMS helping out the people who are currently homeless in our town? Like, how often does that happen in comparison to?
Well, I also have a problem with that.
Well-
We are helping the homeless already, but we're taking the payment for that already. So now you're adding additional on the resources we don't have.
But your county taxes hasn't gone up.
Our taxes in West Hampton go up every year.
Your county taxes,
I
I'm
understand
county,
that, but West Hampton is now going to absorb the overflow. So who do you think's taxes are going up now?
So-
It's not going to be the county, you're
so
correct.
can I, okay.
Go ahead.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, if someone who's homeless has to go to the emergency room and we call 911, Medicaid steps in and absorbs that cost,
They're paying.
or most of that
We're paying
cost.
Hampton Township for that cost.
Mhm.
The thing is, you have insurance, we don't have insurance, because they're homeless, I'm saying,
Mhm.
because they're homeless. Yes. Right? They're on the grounds. The wraparound services, people are trying for insurance.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there, though. I work in healthcare.
Mhm.
You don't have Medicaid till you have Medicaid. You get services eventually, but they don't pay for something you don't have.
But what they do is, when you do get it, they ask you what outstanding bills you have. You might not get.
They're not getting a bill.
I think,
But can
I think that what we talked about, though, was that is the information, that's like a what if, or how often.
It's not a
No,
what
it is.
But no.
It is,
It's
because
gonna happen
when,
certain-
it will, and that's when we just
But
said, we
can I
get
say
into a
that
shared
I would like to
agreement.
have a separate meeting about that, so we
Hey,
can.
I would love to have.
This is how often we're going over there, this is how
Absolutely.
often.
And the other thing I have about data is, you keep telling me you base this all around the Bergen County thing.
Not all of it, but yeah, that's where
But
we
a big
went,
bill
our
is,
model,
you
yeah.
need such beds and all that. Where's their data? Because I'm sure they have tons of it.
Yeah, they do.
Why aren't you using that data to give us the information that we need? Because it's basically going to be the same thing.
It's not, though. Bergen County is a much bigger county.
Okay, so
it's
take
not
that
the
data,
same.
give it to us, and then say, okay, cut it in half.
So,
That's
Miss,
fine.
your 3 minutes is
You
up.
guys are
Let
just asking
Director
for it.
Hobson-
That's fine.
We paused it when the speakers
fine.
are responding. So if you could let Ms. Hobson, Director Hobson finish
Yeah.
up, and then let.
And that's fine. This is my first time being here. Did we get requested this information before? So I'm happy to share it. I didn't know.
Part of the research you're doing before you even build a shelter, you should have tons of data.
But you wanted me to come here with knowing what questions you were going to ask me?
No, but data in general. I mean, how do you put something up without having, it's like, say, building a school without knowing how many people live in your township? Or
That's
knowing
not-
how many
I don't-
residents.
I don't
or
view
what
that
roads
as-
they have.
I don't view that as the
You can't
same.
just build something
I
and
don't-
not know data to support it.
And I don't have the same viewpoint as you do on this. You're saying, you think that's what we did? You think we just threw, think we just threw it up?
No,
Happy to
I
talk to you after this.
have data, but you're not giving it to us.
I'm telling you based off of what we did, 60 beds, the layout and all of that stuff. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you, but I'm happy to talk to you after this. I won't leave.
Per resident?
I won't leave. I won't
And I'll wait
leave.
for that data.
That's fine.
All right.
And I'm not gonna sit here and guess data.
Getting angry. Hi, my name's Audrey Kerstetter. I live at 36 Dover Road. We've come to this meeting a couple of times, and we asked our mayor about the shelter. He told us that he didn't know much about it. We asked them to have you come to the meeting so that we could talk before this all started. That didn't happen. Now we have this. This happened because we found out little bits, and we circulated a protest sign. Okay? We had 3 days to get everything together, and this is what we got out of 3 days. You're saying 2 years that we didn't know about, but you come to my doors when you're running for election, you knock at my doors, I want your vote, this, that, and the other thing. Nobody came to my door and said, we're building an emergency shelter across the street. Not one person. I didn't see it in the paper. I was dealing with somebody sick in my family. That wasn't important to me. Shame on me. But you, as people here, should be notifying the people that live in this area, Mount Holly. Most of the people in Mount Holly don't know a lot of things about going on here. People in Willingboro don't know a lot about the emergency shelter. There's a lot of people I have talked to that don't know about the shelter. Shame on all of us for not knowing, but shame on you for all not knowing and telling us what's coming into our town because you're representing us. That's the first problem I have. Number two, we've learned a lot with COVID. We have learned so much with COVID that we should be spending this money to make mobile units to go to the facilities where you need the most people instead of building a facility. Why can't you make a mobile unit and service the people where they're located instead of making them come here not knowing what's going to happen once they get here? We're all upset. Our town's going to go probably our house values will probably go down because any place that has a shelter, most values have gone down in their home areas. Crime might go up. We don't know. Again, we don't know. We're assuming. But what we see here, the homeless people got moved out of the library for Election Day. They weren't in their hammocks where they normally are. You know, I mean, things are being hidden behind closed doors from the West Hampton residents. And I feel that we're getting slapped in the face here. There's a lot of things that have happened here, and I'm ashamed of it because I have been a resident since 1986. And I had people that backed me in this township. And now I feel like we're getting slapped in the face, and this is getting thrown to us very quickly. A groundbreaking ceremony that the press didn't know until it was happening. Shame. Shame, shame, shame.
Chief Craig, could you tell us, just for information's sake, how much money Medicaid pays per ambulance call? Thank you.
All right, Rob O'Brien, 19 Manor Drive. I think I speak for a lot of people here. The biggest issue really is we're not compassionate or caring for the homeless. We are. I think the biggest issue has just been location and proximity to so many of those areas that seem a little bit more vulnerable. With that being said, you had mentioned that you didn't just pick this location. Is there a study or some type of document, report, where it kind of dictates, there's a conclusion that says this is a spot, whether it's the most cost-efficient or cost-effective? Is there anything like that? Maybe something that's operable?
Yeah, it's everything we need to make our decisions on is operable.
Okay.
So, we have our findings, and this was the best location based off of the Human Services building already being here and services already in that building. But yeah, everything we make our decisions on are operable, to answer your question.
Yeah. But I didn't know is there like an actual report, some type of documentation, some type of paper trail that would show?
Yeah, we have our paper trail on the homeless shelter. We have the paper trail on that. That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
All right. And I guess the other thing, I was a little disappointed seeing you're kind of dying on the hill about the public meeting minutes and how everybody's going to find out about this. I was pretty disappointed to hear that.
How would you have liked us to deal with it?
So, with something that I would call this controversial topic, I mean, for most townships, if something's coming like this to their town, I think public policy should be a little bit more proactive, given the controversial topic it is. Maybe it would have been getting more feedback from the community, some type of outreach, getting some type of buy-in or trust from the community, which I feel like at this point you've kind of ruined it, unfortunately. There's not much trust, there's no buy-in really. It's because it seems like we're all put in the dark. I know it is in the public meeting minutes, but let's be honest. I mean, most of us don't look at the township committee minutes, or even a local board, let alone a county.
No, I understand. I understand your point, and I do understand your point. I don't know what else I could possibly say because it's we've had controversial topics and during my tenure, and I don't know that I would have done anything to satisfy, folks if it's right in their town. But I don't know if all I could say is, maybe we could all make a conservative effort to do a little bit better when it comes down to
I mean, that was my only feedback, was that
I don't know what else I
that we
could.
could be talking or knowing or having a liaison, because so many of the county buildings are in West Hampton. Maybe that communication needs to happen more often, and we can do that. And that, again, I said shame on me too for being on this committee, but every single one of us, all 5 of us, have been on this committee for 3 years or more. So we have been here since they've announced it 2 years ago. So it's not just one person, 4 of us, and not the other. It's all 5 of us. No, because we're saying the one has given information, but Nancy, I think you were similar to me. We heard of this possibly happening 2 years ago, but we didn't go and research more to give information to our residents. So I will say, shame on me, but that's on all of us, all 5 of us have sat up here at least 3 years. So you can't point one figure and saying one person gave you information just 3 weeks ago when this was happening. That's not true. It was all of us not giving information 2 years ago when it was found.
And sir, it's been in the newspaper too, sir.
And I say shame on me
I'm
because
just saying,
I literally see this.
I don't know, you know what I mean? I just don't know what else I could.
I don't get the newspaper on my phone, so.
That's all right.
I don't get it on mine. I'm just letting you know, there's been other outlets other than our website and.
No, I did have a couple quick questions.
Got a minute left.
So Megan's Law came up. Will there be any type of like background checks or anything? And I think with this most recent election, the big topic was illegal immigration. Is there a process to kind of vet whether it's a U.S. citizen or something?
Yeah, I'll definitely take that as a takeaway. We have that as a takeaway.
Okay.
And we'll get, whatever we come up with, we'll make sure we share it with your committee.
Okay. And then the sheriff's office being security inside, I think a lot of people are a little bit more concerned what's happening outside. Will they be on the road at all as maybe additional law enforcement kind of subsidizing what we currently have, or
I mean,
are they?
we could take that as a takeaway.
Okay. And then last question, you mentioned the trust fund. Do you know approximately how much might be in there and whether that's, how many years that might be forecasted out to actually?
Well, it's continuous. The fee,
Yeah.
the county clerk fees is continuous. So it's $5 for every recording fee. So I think we're somewhere around 3.7 million so far. I don't know.
Okay.
We can get that number. It's a matter of public record. Like,
Okay.
we don't, it is a,
Well, ultimately, it is anticipated that will cover the cost for.
that's going to help cover the operational cost of it.
Right.
And that's indefinite. That's not going away. I don't know the amount, but we can absolutely get that for you. Can we take a note to get that? And we'll send it over to your county committee.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Your township committee. Mhm.
Hi, I'm Karen Thompson. I live in Tarnsfield on Greenwich, and I just have a question regarding the vetting as well, that the people that will be coming in. I've heard mentioned quite a few times, addicts, which, hey, if they're trying to get their life together, I totally support that. I grew up in Philly. I've lost lots of friends. I have a 20-year-old niece out on the streets right now. So, I get it. There is a real need. But I have kids here. There's close to schools. As people are coming in, are you going to be, drug testing them? If they relapse, are they going to get kicked out? Are they going to find other placement for them?
That's not how homeless shelters work. So we're there to give them assistance, to help them overcome, to get them on the right track. So we're not kicking anyone out from the shelter. We're there to give them assistance, get them on the right track, get them the wraparound services, and then get them into transitional housing so they can move on with their lives.
So does this, for the addicts that are trying to get themselves together, does this provide services to get them clean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But they're not going to drug test on a daily basis as they re-enter? That makes no sense. To someone, I'm just saying from my personal experience.
It's a substance abuse disorder. So we will have substance abuse disorder experts, right? So are they going to drug test them every single day? I can't answer that. I'm not a case manager. I'm not a social worker. But if that's the policy that we put in place, then that's what we will do. But we're not going to be kicking people out.
I think it's something that you might want to investigate because, again, talk to
What do you want me to
halfway
investigate, though?
rehab places, get some of the things that they do in place to help the people that have the addiction problem.
Oh, for sure. We already have those. Yeah, we already have that. Okay.
Oaks, Legacy, Rutgers, I have this on 5 or 6 of them that we have that I can't take care of everybody. I don't have the expertise.
Yeah, I understand.
We do warm handoffs, so I can imagine, we already do that.
Right.
So I can't imagine.
And we do have a recovery center too, though, so we have services already in place.
Okay.
So,
I'm
and it's
just
not
saying,
just people
allowing
addicted to
active
drugs.
addicts to stay in the back of a community where there's a bunch of kids and not knowing if they're going to, continue using.
Are you saying that they're not going to be in the building and exposed to kids? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying in the
Because you said in the
neighborhood.
back of a building
In the
exposed to
back of
kids.
the neighborhood. that has
Because
a
that's
lot
where the
of
homeless
kids.
shelter is.
It's yeah.
We have drug addicts on our streets now. I mean, at those bus stops, there's people everywhere now. I don't see it being a different population than what we currently have.
I see it right in Torranceville.
Oh,
itself,
then you need to stay and watch, people walking across, the the parking lot of the firehouse, walking from Wawa straight through. I mean, I think Craig talks to the individuals daily. We have the population now. Now, there's already services at Human Services Building for people with drug addiction, with they're going and receiving their services and then coming out and waiting at the bus stops right there on Wood Lane Road now. Right there in front of the firehouse. They're right in my backyard. Everybody is there.
They're not coming and going.
Yeah,
in
they
the
are.
neighborhood.
They're coming and going right there where the services are and the bus
Not
stop.
to people for days on end.
Yeah.
We will,
They're
we
receiving
will,
services
Ms. Thompson,
now.
Ms. Thompson, we will do everything in our power to make sure that our residents feel safe. I don't know how to solve for, your particular scenario in this moment. We really gonna have to wait and see. I don't anticipate that as a problem. I don't, but I don't know what I don't know. So I will definitely take your concerns and we will solve for it immediately if it becomes an issue.
All right, thank you.
And the homeless trust fund, right now, we have 1.5 million in that trust fund.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Enriquez, and I'm on Devonshire Drive. I don't know if these are questions or they're just plain statements, because right now, I am so perturbed, and I will not move out of Torranceville because I've been here for 44 years.
I'm not going to either because it's
Okay,
great.
however, I am not happy with any of the situation right now. I'm speaking with all of you too. And this young lady and this young man, which I think he was falling asleep and she was chuckling at something else, I don't know, because I've never heard them talk. However, I don't think that not one person in West Hampton does not have the compassion or the desire to help those that are less fortunate than us. I'm from New York City. I've seen it. I've been there. I've seen it, done it, whatever you want. I've helped so many people. However, my problem, as well as others, the majority of us here, is not a homeless shelter or an emergency shelter, as you want to call it. Same thing, basically. It's where you and whoever you were with decided to put it without any of us having any option, say, or anything. And to our committee members, your responsibility to us was to keep us informed. None of you, minus Nancy,
That's not true.
I have not seen you on any, I have not heard you. Excuse me, it's my 3 minutes. It's my 3 minutes.
The resident came
My
here to
3
tell us
minutes.
about it.
So, like I
Put it on
said,
Facebook.
there has been no one of you that have, I've been at all these meetings, basically a lot of them, but we've been fighting warehouses being built in our backyards. We have everything going on, let's dump it on West Hampton, let's dump it on West Hampton. Oh, because our social services, why didn't you move the whole building to the Burlington County? That is a humongous area. They had, across the street, they have a police department. or they may be gone. Our department is already stretched thin, over 9,000 residents, and we have 2 police cars or 2 police officers that are out there available for us. That is crazy. And I don't think you did enough data, because if you're talking Bergen County and it's larger, they must have a bigger police force. They must have more money to invest. We don't. That's all.
Hi, my name's Diane Miskey. I live on 2 Berkshire Road. I wanted to know, was there an environmental impact assessment done? Because I know we questioned this when the hospital was supposed to be built here. West Hampton has wetlands near that site, and how's this going to reflect the fauna and our drainage and everything else? Has that been done? Do we have can we see something about that?
Well, we haven't completed the building yet, so we haven't gotten to that part yet, right? Has it been a part of, 1 second, please, 1 second, please. We don't have that. It was a part of the assessment when we did it. So I don't have it, but we can share it with your committee to make sure you get it.
Yes, I think the council would.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
My name is Garfield Harper. I live at 682 Wood Lane Road, West Hampton, New Jersey. First of all, I want to make a couple of comments on what was said. Up the street from my house, there is a woman's shelter. Right up the street from my house. Those people don't bother nobody. You don't even know they're there. On Maple Tree Drive, there's another shelter back there. Those people mind their own business. They go and come. I've been living in this town for 50 years. And let me just tell you how I really, really feel. I didn't ask y'all to move here around me. I didn't ask none of you. When I moved here, none of you lived here.
Talk to us.
And trust me, I didn't like it when you came here. But I dealt with it.
Mr. Harper, can you address the board, please?
Let me finish this. Every Saturday, just listen, I went to Korea and fought for this country. I came back here, and one of my buddies, I hadn't seen him in almost 20 years. One day, I was sitting in the diner with my wife eating. I seen this guy eating out of a trash can. I looked at her and I said, that looks like the guy that I know. And sure enough, it was Clyde. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. And I walked over to him and looked at him and I started crying. And I said, Clyde, what happened to you? And he told me, after you left, things changed. Here's a guy today that has a mental illness. That I was taking food to Camden. Every time you had that thing across the street over there at that school, my wife would make me get out of bed, go get food from that program they had, and take it to give it to Clyde so Clyde has something to eat. I've been out of service 50 years, and Clyde still has mental issues from what happened to him, and he's a United States Army veteran. And I'm sitting here listening to this. I understand where some of you are coming from. But the thing I want you to know is, when you moved here, and I'm going to leave now, and I don't give a damn, I thought the same thing about y'all. When you moved underneath the me, over there, and I moved out in the country so I could get away from all of that, and the crap followed me. So how do you think I felt? So you're sitting here passing judgment on things. I go up to the Wawa every day, and there's an officer right there that sees me up there. In my neighborhood, I watch everything. I know everything that goes on around there. Every day. You know how many times I've been to that Wawa and guys standing out there begging for money, peeing in the corner of the street? The reason why I get apprehensive is because I was in the service as long as I was. I don't like people disrespecting me. Period. I don't care who you are. And every time I go up there, last night I was up there, and I see a guy standing out there, and I felt sorry for him. He's standing there crying. And I told him, if you want something to eat, I'll take you in the store and I'll buy you something to eat. But I'm not giving you no money to go buy no liquor with. All I'm saying is, those people, a lot of them don't bother anybody. That shelter has been up the street from my house now for almost 10 years. I see it every day. Those battered women that walk by my house, I know, those battered women that walk by my house, some days I'm out there working on my truck. And they look at me like they're scared of me because they've been beaten by some man sometimes. I mean, come on, man. Everybody got to live. And if you're like me because of what I said, you can move out of this town. Probably get to other people. That's how I feel.
Excuse me. I have one more comment. I know I spoke
You
earlier.
didn't have a question the last time, go ahead.
First, I know. So, first of all, thank you, sir, for your service. Thank you very much. Thank you as a veteran. Thank you, police, for being here. I was upset earlier because there was a lot of talk about us needing compassion. We do have it. I looked up the Bergen County Homeless Center is located in Hackensack. They have 46,000 people living in Hackensack. West Hampton has 9,100.
9160.
Kind of a different.
Well, I messed it up before, so.
And something that wasn't mentioned was that the homeless volunteer to go to this building. They're not, you keep saying, with all due respect, and, oh, I need to apologize to you if some asshole wrote an email to you about your color. That's ridiculous, and I apologize. The homeless people do not have to stay at this place. They're allowed to go there. They're allowed to leave. There's nothing holding them, and that's our concern in this small West Hampton Township. What are they going to do? You're drawing them over here, and then what's going to happen? About the environmental impact statement, I was here at West Hampton last Friday, and you don't have one. I then went over to the county building. They didn't have one. I called the EPA in Trenton, the state, and I didn't get a message. I didn't get an answer back. This was Friday, and there was a holiday yesterday. But in order to build that building that's there would have had to have been an environmental impact statement. So there was a hospital going to be built there, and we don't know exactly why they didn't build. I know that we weren't all happy about it, but there was a bog turtle there mentioned that might have been a problem. I can show you a map that shows that the water that drains from this side of the road drains across the road, and we're going to build concrete, and we're going to end up with more water or less wetlands on our side of the road. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. There's a large culvert underneath the road there that was wet a week ago before our rain, soaking wet. So there's wetlands there, and somehow there's got to be an environmental impact statement about that.
And it would be with our county engineer, sir.
Okay.
So we'll make sure we get a copy.
Okay.
All right, sir, can you wrap up? You're just
Yes.
done with 3 minutes.
I'm done. Again, the concern I have is that you can't force these people in this building. They can do whatever they want. There's nothing holding them there whatsoever. So how are we going to deal with that? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Director, is there going to be any preference to veterans? It seems like that's also a concern that, those that have served, if you're doing a point system, who gets in and who does not get in, maybe they get an extra point.
We're not doing a point system.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, so we have approximately 11% of our homeless population are veteran, 1% of our homeless populations are veterans. We don't necessarily enter on a point system, but of course, if they need assistance, we're going to help them. Of course.
Well, but if there's 90 people with 60 beds, that's what I'm saying.
Right, but we have a lot of other services just for veterans.
Okay.
We do.
The other thing is, it's not a question or a comment, but as I'm listening to people about medical problems, I would think that if someone lost their house, lost their job, they have no medical insurance, one of the first things you might do when they come to you is help them to get signed up for Medicaid.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's why the wraparound services are there, that's why the Board of Social Services is there. All of those things would be assessed during that intake process.
But at least if that's a priority, again, you've gotten some money for them, you've gotten some services for them.
Yep,
You know,
and
that
we
might
would take
help.
care of that during the intake process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, I have one more question following up on what Lee said. Since they can come and go from the shelter, do you have anything set up where they have a sign-in sheet so that you know when somebody has left? Because say we do find somebody in our development and there is a problem, that we know they're from the shelter? So do you have that in place? Like say you...
Oh, you're saying if you find someone, oh, yeah, we'll have that
If somebody
type of...
leaves that building, they
Yeah.
have to sign out?
Yeah, we'll have that type, we'll set those protocols.
Okay.
So you're asking if we have it today, but...
I know you don't have it
Right,
today.
so we'll
Okay.
definitely set up those type of protocols doing
Okay, so
that.
they can't just come and go as they please?
Well,
Without signing in and out?
right, you know, we'll create those type of protocols.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So I will ask this before we go ahead and wrap this up. I'd like to be able to make a joint commitment with our director that as we get closer, we have another meeting that gives us a little bit more solid data, a little bit more information, and we can answer even more questions. Obviously, one of the biggest things we've heard is that you guys feel like you're not in the loop, so let's make sure that we do that. She's already made a commitment that she's willing to come back. I'll make the commitment that I'll do whatever I can to make that happen. So as we get closer to the finalization of the project and we get more information, we'll invite you to come back to be able to discuss a little bit more. We invite everybody in here to come back, bring a friend, and we'll discuss a little bit more depth to know exactly what's going on and the solutions that are going to be offered to some of the questions that we had that they're going to table and bring back to us. So we'll make sure that we do that. You have my commitment.
Yeah, and I'll definitely be back, whenever.
I'll make this real quick. This is more for these guys. My name is Thomas Brunchew. I'm 105 West Maple Tree Drive. The responses that you guys gave to the county buildings, you said it was 156 or something responses. What would you estimate that translates to in hours? Average? Guess? About an hour call. So it's not insignificant. My other question was, the building obviously needed approval, right? From you folks. When did that happen?
No, we didn't need West Hampton's approval.
Oh, no?
No, we needed the state approval to do it.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay. The survey or the study that was done for the site, okay, will that be made publicly available, or is this something we're going to have to do, by an open request?
Right? You're talking about our initial planning? Which survey are you referring to?
Site survey?
Oh, yeah. All of that.
Multiple locations?
Absolutely. So, yeah, so, I don't know, well, the survey and us looking at multiple, locations,
You did
the
a
study.
Right, you said, you looked at this area. And you said,
Yeah, so we have that write-up,
area.
that's definitely
And that's something
operable.
that's publicly available.
It is, all of our information is operable.
Okay, and can we be provided with that, or do we have to hunt for it?
Well, you just have to submit the request, you just have to submit the Oprah request for it, that's it.
Okay.
That's all you have to do.
All right,
Then
very good.
we have to by law give it to you.
All right, well, we had one per time.
Can I just ask another clarification, because we talked about the numbers before? Do you know what the percentages of homeless is in other towns in Burlington County?
In other counties, we have counties, we don't have towns.
I think we do have the town.
Oh, we do have the
Hampton's
towns. I
like
didn't
number
see that
3
one.
of the towns in Burlington County.
Number 3 in terms of the number of homeless?
Yeah, it's like one is 167, another one's 147, and I think those numbers could be wrong,
Are they
147.
giving the county services building as a residence? Like, are you saying we have 160-some people?
No, that's the number 1. West Hampton's number 3. I think she has the numbers in front of her. I've actually seen the numbers, that's why I said that, ma'am.
So we're number 3 in the whole county for the number of homeless people?
Yes, ma'am.
West Hampton is?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
That seems very high.
so,
To say
Director,
Yes.
is this according to the point-in-time report?
Yes.
So if I can just explain a little bit, nationwide on an annual basis, there's one day that there's a point-in-time report. They have specific criteria that are applied across the country and what defines homelessness. And a team of volunteers, I'm sure you were part of that, go out and survey every place in the country to determine what this number is. They then feed it into the system, and then it's publicly reported. If you Google point in time Burlington County, you can find all of this data. So it's done in conjunction with the Department of HUD, Housing and Urban Development, at the state level, but it's nationwide by, yeah. Okay.
Okay, because it seems to me it might be more helpful to these people to be in a more populated area to get them back on track. There's more opportunities than there are here. But the other question I have for you, sir, is you talked about more opportunity to ask questions as this process goes along. What kind of timelines are we talking about for building this?
I think you said, 14 to 20 months, something like
14 to
that?
20 months.
From when?
From the groundbreaking, which was right, which was the groundbreaking. Oh, the actual shovels in the ground, which we...
When do you plan to actually really start going, like, how much time do we have to really have this dialogue?
Year and a half.
I mean, I don't have that exact date. We'll get you the date.
Over.
But from that date, it'll be 20 months.
Well, I saw that projection, I just don't know when that's.
Right, I'll get your committee that date. Can we make sure we get that date? We'll get you that date.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and we'll take a brief recess before we finish up. Thank you, Director. Thank you, residents who came out for that, and to talk about our emergency shelter, and we'll continue with our meeting in about 5 minutes. Give everybody a little quick breath, grab some water. I think they have some candy in the back as well. Thank you.
Yeah, we're ready.
All right, so we're gonna restart the meeting at this point. So let me start off with the swearing of the officer, but I had to do the resolution, so he actually is not a patrolman until we do this, so I'm sorry. Resolution 150-24, resolution appointing police patrolman. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Barkley?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Mungo?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Henley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Approval of minutes, October 15, 2024, regular meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
Berkeley move.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Barkley?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Mungo?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Henley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
October 15, 2024, executive session minutes. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Barkley?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Mungo?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Henley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
We have department reports, construction, court, public works, police department, and fire EMS. We'll now open the meeting for public comment on agenda items only. Please remember to state your name and address for the record. Remember, this is for comment only. I'd do it. Let's do it.
Gary Barbarian, 138 Winstead. So I have comments on Agenda 11, A, D, E, and F. I could do E and F pretty quickly. I mentioned this to Wendy, but Bob, I found a couple of Scrivener errors in E and F. I mean, I can point them out specifically, but...
So if they're just clerical in nature, then they can be cleaned up by the...
Yeah, the roadway improvements just mentions Greenwich Drive as opposed to the Amara and Winstead et al. In the actual recital of the agreement, so I just want to make sure that was correct. And in terms of the DPW services, also in that recital, the other party should be East Hampton, it just mentions Mount Holly. So I think that was a mistake as well.
Okay.
So if you find that, you can maybe... So that was my comment on that. And also on D, the purchase agreement there, Scrivener error, you're just omitting the city in the recital. So it's supposed to be the city is Houston, so. But mainly, it's 141-24, the resolution to renew the shared services agreement. I don't know, when I looked at this agreement, to me, it looked very biased in favor of East Hampton, and I can, kind of go through you quickly what I saw. If you look at the agreement itself, right, and you take a look at sort of section 1, the resolution is talking about providing emergency services, for the shared services, but that recital also includes standby services that we're providing, and we're not allowed to bill accordingly for that. So that to me was concerning. If you go to number 6 in the agreement, the billing procedures and amounts, clause 2, we are agreeing that East Hampton is not responsible for any deficiencies suffered by West Hampton for uncollecting amounts. We just kind of had a little bit of a discussion earlier. We all know that, I don't think there's any surprise that Medicaid is going to be under tremendous pressure in the next administration. So East Hampton is basically putting that entire burden on us. So if we can't collect against private insurance or Medicaid, we're the ones shouldering that entire burden for that. I think that there's probably some room for negotiation there in that agreement. Number 7 in that agreement, records and reports, clause 4. It says we are to provide them a process for which we are to receive complaints about our service provided to their residents. And I guess my question is, do we have such a complaint process already on the books? If not, we have to develop one.
You say yes.
We do? Okay.
Yeah, he can answer them for you.
I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure that we weren't creating an extra burden for us on that.
All right, so your first question was about, the billing. So what happens is, currently we bill insurances just like West Hampton residents.
Right.
Part of this agreement includes a monetary compensation from East Hampton. So not only are we getting the insurance money, we're also getting $125,000 a year, and that increases $25,000 a year. Previously, this was $75,000 and then capped at $92,000. So we previously did a per call service fee of $202.72 per call that we billed them, up to a max of $92,000. We did away with that and just went to a flat fee just to make it easier, and it's also more beneficial to us for that. So the payer mix in East Hampton is better than West Hampton, meaning their insurance in East Hampton is better than ours in West Hampton, mostly because of the services that are here in West Hampton. And that's not just the county facilities, that's Catholic Charities, that's what's next door? Family Services, Hampton Hospital. All those facilities don't really have good insurances. It's a lot of Medicaid, so we're getting that $52, whereas East Hampton, most people have insurance. Most of our patients have insurance, so we're getting the $400, $500, $600.
Okay.
So if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The complaint process, we have a policy in place. A lot of it is just, if there's an issue on a call, their township manager emails me, says, hey, can you look into this call? I look into it, I send it back to her, and everybody's happy.
And the standby, you're obligated to perform standby.
So standby, they have Smithville Park that has some things that go on there. A lot of times we don't bill East Hampton for the standby. We bill the whoever's doing the event covers the cost. So it's not a case of us we're not doing it for free. We're just not billing East Hampton. We're billing the sponsor, the event sponsor.
Yeah, and I understood that part of it. I guess my sort of concern was that we didn't have the ability to kind of decline performing that standby service. It's like, well, we're going to have fireworks. Now you've got to show up, whether we wanted to or not, for whatever reason, maybe because we were understaffed or we had some other competing conflict going on. By this agreement, we are bound to do that, whether there's some issue going on or some great expense to us or not.
So by statute, the EMS in West Hampton can refuse services anywhere outside the jurisdiction if it causes a safety risk to the residents within West Hampton. So if, like you're saying, there's understaffed or there is a a big accident that our EMS needs to respond to within West Hampton, and statutorily, we can refuse services outside the community, and that would preempt any terms of the contract.
But this is actually talking about like providing standby fire protection services, including staffing at a command level there. So if they have some sort of event going on, we have to send command level staff there, including our fire truck or whatever it is that has to be on standby. That's according to the agreement.
So we're not providing fire services to East Hampton, it's only EMS.
It's in the agreement.
So it might say that so I believe it's worded on major events, that there must be a supervisor that is on location within a certain amount of time. That's filled by our on-duty lieutenant that's usually working, or captain, or myself that's coming from home.
I don't know, please go back and reread that section, because I read it several times myself, and that's what's giving me pause. Section 1, the 5th paragraph is what I have the concern about. I'm reading it completely different than what you're explaining it as.
Craig, if we're someplace else and we have an emergency, I believe that like Mount Laurel, Willingboro, Burlington would come here, right? Wouldn't they, if we're not available?
Yep.
So it's not like we're the only ones that can handle West Hampton
So what
problems.
this pretty much is saying is, so if there's a house fire, we're going to provide the ambulance to be there. If it's a major event, if there's a disaster or anything that goes on like that, we're going to be there.
It doesn't say that. In the agreement, it says if they're going to have some function, like some civic function, like a parade or a fireworks event or something like that, they're saying, hey, West Hampton, we're having this scheduled event. You are now obligated to turn up here with command level staff and equipment or whatever it is while this event is going on. That's what this agreement is saying. So it's the way I'm reading it.
Is this term any different than? It's the exact word, that's the exact same, exact same shared service agreement that was signed the last previous 2 times. Minus the change in the amount of money.
So it's the same thing that's been in place for the last 10 years.
Yes.
Has this been an issue at all, us not providing any kind of services for parades or fireworks?
Nope.
I'm just raising it, that's all.
Yeah, okay.
Section 7 of the agreement, records and reports. This is now obligating us, I don't know what the hassle factor is of us maintaining the records. We have to maintain the records after the termination of the agreement for a period of up to 6 years. That's on us. Why can't we just say, nope, that should be on you, East Hampton. Here's all the records. You keep them.
So all these records are patient medical records, so we're required to keep them anyway. They're all in the cloud, they're already all done.
And we're paying for that.
We pay a flat fee every year. It doesn't matter if we answer 10 calls or 3,000 calls, it's the same. And we're not paying for storage, we pay for per call per year.
Okay. Number 9, default and termination. Only East Hampton can quit the agreement by serving us a 90-day notice to quit the agreement. What if something changes in our township and we want to quit? We can't, according to the agreement. We have no ability to unilaterally cancel this agreement. Only they can cancel the agreement unilaterally.
So I've dealt with this in other towns. I believe that's a statutory provision, that where one municipality is providing services pursuant to an agreement with another, they have to provide 90 days notice. My recollection is that it's more than 90 days.
Well, that's fine if East Hampton wants to quit the agreement, but if we, for whatever reason, something catastrophic happens to our township, we lose all of our firefighters or whatever, I don't know, we lose the equipment, we have to say, we can't perform the agreement anymore. We have to quit it for whatever reason. According to this agreement, we can't unilaterally tell them, hey, we're giving you a 90-day notice. Maybe we found some ability for them to get their services cheaper from some other place. That makes better sense. I'm telling you, reading this agreement only gives them the ability to quit it. We cannot quit this agreement. It's number 9.
But Craig, that doesn't mean that we have to have our physical ambulance or fire there. It's our responsibility then to find a way of getting someone to East Hampton. So we call Mount Laurel.
No, I'm talking about the entire agreement.
Yeah, so
That's what I'm saying.
So currently, yes, we're the primary EMS agency for East Hampton. If we are unable to respond, another agency responds instead of us. It happens almost every day of the week in West Hampton in some way, shape, or form that another agency is coming to West Hampton to cover us, and we're going to other towns to do the same. It's back and forth, back and forth.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, like I said, I mean, you're the custodians and guardians of the township. Like I said, if there's something catastrophic that happens, you know.
It just means it's we're responsible to find someone to go over there.
We can't assign it either. There's no assignability. That's the other issue that I found in this agreement. We cannot assign these services.
So Gary, I understand what your concerns are from a strict looking at a contractual agreement, but there's several statutory provisions that deal with EMS and fire that preempt this. One is the requirement for mutual aid. Our West Hampton's fire department is responsible for responding to East Hampton no matter what.
No matter what.
Regardless if there's an agreement or a payment scheme in place. They cannot refuse a call unless it adversely affects West Hampton. That would be if a neighboring town can only refuse to respond to an emergency in another town if it will detrimentally affect. I don't remember the word, but it's pretty strong wording where what you need to do to deny that. So to that degree, the termination provisions in this contract don't make that much of a difference. And East Hampton doesn't have to have a fire department. They can rely wholly on mutual aid from other towns.
But what if we decide, well, okay, I don't want to argue.
Well, if you want, you know Craig, like you can still pull him to the side and talk about him. I'm sure Craig loves to talk fire.
All right, I mean, I had other remarks, but I'm at my 3 minutes.
Thomas Bunchu, 105 West Maple Tree, asking for a friend. Item 10B, 1040. What exactly is a confidential assistant? And how will it be utilized? And is that a full or part-time position?
You want me? I can. Oh, we can answer at the end. That's for comment only. But we'll answer at the end.
I'm sorry?
It's for comment only, but we'll answer at the end.
Oh, okay. All right.
What'd you say?
I said, I wish we could just answer quickly,
Yeah.
you know?
With no other comments, do we have a motion to close public comment? All in favor?
Motion, Berkeley.
Aye. Resolution 139-24, payment of vouchers. This resolution approves the payment of bills through 11/12/2024. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Berkeley,
I must recuse myself from this vote, please.
you're abstaining?
No, recuse.
Okay.
Different.
Carr,
Yes.
Mungo,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Motion passes 401.
140-24, resolution amending ordinance 4/2024, an ordinance of the Township of West Hampton to fix the salaries and wages and compensation of certain officials and employees of the Township of West Hampton for the year of 2024-2025. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion for 140-24.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have some concerns and discussion. When this first started, it was Craig who wanted to have a person help with medical records because it seems like a lot of people were suing and we needed someone to be able to answer that. And then that was going to be a part-time, and then our administrator said, oh, I can use that person as my assistant. I'm getting a little bit concerned because it used to be in 4 or 5 years ago, that we had one administrator, one certified clerk, one full-time person at the window, and one 8-hour person a week. And now we're going to have one administrator certified and clerk, one a deputy administrator, and 3 people out by the window. It just seems like we could have taken that half person and used it for the other half-time job that the fire chief wanted to have, and have that person do code enforcement and medical records, and then have an extra position. And my concern is that in 2008, we had 25 people in the police department. In 2024, we have 24 people in the police department. We've increased our public works by 50%. We're increasing the municipal offices by a lot. We're increasing here, and the police are not increasing, and yet we've increased by thousands of people our population. And it just seems like, I don't know why we need, I can understand the half-time person for the chief of fire, especially people getting to be quite happy suing someone who hit you with a car, but I don't see why we need to take advantage of that and call it, I don't know if it's still called an office manager or office assistant. It just seems like we've got a lot of people in that little office, and I don't know, that's a lot of money for us to spend. Also, apparently you've decided on a candidate, but we're not approving the candidate. You're approving a salary of anywhere from 40 to 65, but we're not approving the salary. And I think that if you're going to have this, we need to know who it is, how they got hired, and how much we're paying them. And I just think there's a lot of information missing and a lot of spent money that's not needed. We have a lot of people to do the same job that we did 25 years ago. Thank you.
So, I have a bit of a discussion here as well. One, my understanding is, because we talked about this in closed session and all 5 of us were in agreement of making this higher. So one of the things that we talked about, and Craig can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the person that's coming in is going to spend part of their time not only doing that paperwork for Craig, but also doing the paperwork for the upkeep of like people's properties, things of that nature, which brings money into the town to support what we're doing and also keeps the upkeep of the town. Secondly, we talked about residents came in and have complained a multitude of times about the customer service aspect and what the building feels like when you come in. So I know a lot of this, what we talked about, was directed around someone with our customer, that's customer service friendly, to be able to walk residents through things and be able to present a smile on their face when they come in. Secondly, we have someone in the office who is looking to be the tax collector. And the shared service who's currently doing the tax collecting is saying that that person is never going to be ready as long as they're up front taking customers and not learning more about the position. So my understanding is that they're going to change the positions of the office around, where that person then goes into the tax collector's office. This new person is going to be up front to be able to help customers. And then now you get the person who's doing another part of the complaints of residents was that when we're talking about our construction office and the turnaround time of that. So now you also get to move the person in the back of the office that's able to do the construction work without being bothered. And as far as what we had in the building previously, is not, so we can't say, you can say whatever you like, but we can't say we got more people than we had 25 years ago, and we shouldn't have more people than we had 25 years ago. But why don't we have more police officers? Because we have more people in the town than we had 25 years ago. It's like two ways. But what I would say about the police department, and Fer can correct me if I'm wrong, is not that they don't have the viability to hire more people. It's just that right now, the way policing is, we took a bunch of people from a different police department, right, that filled in. And now some of those people have moved on because XYZ Police Department may have gotten a new contract so they can get more money if they go over there. Our problem is not hiring police department. Our hiring is that our problem is when we renegotiate the contracts for the police department, and residents may want to know this, that if we're going to keep police long-term, then we're probably going to have to pay them more money, which we will have to do as a town, because that's why we have 24, 25 police officers. If I'm wrong, Ferg, you can tell me. But that's a discussion that you and I have had, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yes, so that's the problem with our police, is that we probably, if we want to keep them and grow them a little bit more, because we get some, and then we lose, we just had one tonight, but we get some and then we lose them, we get some and then we lose them, and then we might get a flux and then we lose them. So I think that there are two different problems, but I think that this hire does check a lot of boxes in comparison, and my understanding is that this person doesn't even report to the administrator. This person reports to the deputy administrator. So they're not helping the administrator at all. They report to the deputy administrator. But that's my part of the discussion.
So,
with that being said,
so then that's okay if I request that we add 2 police officers in the budget for next year, so.
Of course! One thing that we always want to do is add police officers, but we're going to pay for them. That's the only thing that I don't mind paying for safety, but when you hire a police officer and then look at the scale that they're on, right, then we're going to pay for the benefits, we're going to pay for the retirement, we're going to pay for a bunch of things.
Which is why I don't think we need another person to help the administration or a deputy administration here, because we have to pay. Thank you. And how much are we paying this person, Mayor?
I'm not the one doing the hiring, but what I can tell you is that one of the other complaints that we've had online, which, it kills you to read, but is that we used to take in a certain amount of money from the assessment of the properties, right? And we've had people complain about how the upkeep of the properties. This person that's going to allow the person who goes and looks at the properties and does that job, that this person now does all the paperwork to give them more freedom to get some of those things done. So this person isn't something that we're just paying, they're also bringing money into the town.
I believe that's the other person, that's the code enforcer that Craig is hiring. Right, Craig, you're hiring a code enforcer that's going to be working out of your building? Yes. So that would be upkeeping of the properties and that kind of stuff, not this person.
They're also doing, they're also doing the paperwork for the code enforcement. That's what I just said. A person's going to go out and do the code enforcement, but there's paperwork that has to be done. So if that person doesn't have to do the paperwork, if they can pass that on to another person, they're out in the field more doing the code enforcement. That's what we talked about in the meeting. You got that smile on your face. You happy now? I like when I put that smile on your face. But at any rate,
I do what I can do.
I'm smiling too. So, roll call.
Berkeley?
No.
Carr? Yes.
Mungo? Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Henley?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Consent agenda resolution. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with a single motion. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any items requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Mayor?
Yes.
For that motion, if I could just request that the clerical errors that were raised by Gary be included in the council's approval.
Say that one more time?
The clerical errors that
Clerical
mentioned.
errors, for E and F
Yes.
will be addressed.
Mayor,
Motion?
I still like to pull E, please.
Certainly.
What, you removed E?
E, yes.
I make a motion for A through D and F through I.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Roll call.
Berkeley?
Yes.
Carr? Yes. Mungo?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Henley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
A motion for 145-24 resolution to renew shared service agreement for DPW services.
We moved it, right?
Yes, but now we're looking for, now we have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Part 2 funding, I was just curious, it says, I know we're coming up with a funding per year, and then A said 2% increase, and then B is 2% increase from the next year. Isn't increase of what we pay our public works guys something we have to negotiate with them? How can we decide to give them a 2% increase for the public works who go to East Hampton when that contract has not been negotiated?
So that's actually what East Hampton is paying us in addition. So it's a 2% increase in what they're funding us.
So if their salaries go up 5%, we're left paying the extra money for them to go to East Hampton.
We can't anticipate that because our contract's not up.
Their contract is up in 2025, correct?
What's that?
I thought it was up in 2025.
It is, but we can't anticipate that until we.
Until they negotiate the contract.
You can only go based on what information is in front of you.
Okay, so we can do A, but B, we don't know for 2026.
Correct.
And I don't know that we've ever given a 5% increase.
This is just for equipment. This is...
Well, I'm
Don't
not
do that
gonna talk about
math.
what
Don't
we
you
just
do that math.
negotiated. What are we going to do if they negotiate a higher than 2%?
The 2% is coming from East Hampton. It's not,
No, that's what they're paying us, but we have to pay our guys. So if they're paying us 2% more, it's saying that we get only 2% more to pay our guys.
traditionally, we haven't paid more than 2%.
We have, right?
We have not.
Okay, fire department got 3%.
We're talking about Public Works.
Excuse me?
Are we talking about Public Works?
Yes, but I'm talking about the last contract we settled.
Right, but you got, to keep apples, to me, you're elected, you can describe it how you want, but to me, if you want to have apples to apples, we're talking about Public Works. Fire department, Public Works, police, they're all different, they all serve different purposes, and they're all on different pay scales, they all have different contracts.
I think we should deduct D and do D later, but that's up to you.
How are we going to do it in 2025?
From 2025 to 2026.
Right, so if the contract won't be completed and they won't negotiate the contract till 2025. Right now, we're in 2024, so what should we do with this agreement now?
No,
What should we do with this agreement now?
I,
If we kick this can down the
I'm
road,
just asking, can we do that without negotiating how much we pay our guys?
but their contract isn't up until 2025.
This is for 2026.
Right, but this is completed now. This is completed before they complete the contract for 2025. So we're hedging it, right? But, so what I would say is, to me, a better question would be, knowing that East Hampton's only giving us 2%, this should influence the contract that we negotiate with Public Works at the time we negotiate in 2025, that we have to remember that we're only getting 2% from East Hampton, so we don't want to overpay in that contract to go over the 2% we're getting from East
Right,
Hampton.
but that's only 15 days. Question, who gets to go to East Hampton? Is it traditionally always the person who is the highest seniority that gets to go for extra jobs? Okay, it's not the person with the highest seniority? Okay, it used to be that way, thank you. So then you could assign it to somebody not making as much money? Okay, thank you.
Roll call?
Berkeley?
Yeah.
Carr?
Yes.
Mungo?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
We're now open meeting for public comment. Please remember to state your name and address for the record. Remember, this is for comment only. Microphone. No, but we have to record it. Or people will say, I couldn't hear Mr. Harper. Yeah,
Maybe you can answer.
hopefully.
When a man turns 65 years old, and his kids are all grown, why does he have to still continue to pay school taxes for local and regional school taxes? And I'm just asking a simple question. No one's ever challenged that, has it? Why does a man who's retired, not retired, his kids are gone, and then he's still got to pay them school board and regional school taxes, and your kids are gone? Why? How come no one's ever challenged that in any court? Because it needs to be challenged.
Mayor, I can answer that.
Go ahead.
Well, you're not supposed to.
I was on the school
You
board.
we answer, this is for statement only. Well, I mean,
Yes, the question-
I already missing B's return anyway, so go ahead.
When your children, let's say a normal person has 3 kids, they go to school from kindergarten through high school. You pay school taxes. If each child costs the school $12,000, that's $36,000 a year that you didn't have to pay because your taxes were maybe going to the school for $5,000. Because then all the retired people were paying their taxes to help your kids. So when you finish sending your kids out, you still have a deficit that you didn't pay for that $12,000 or $15,000 a year for your kids to go to school. So that's why it's divided equally. I don't have any kids that I pay school taxes. So I'm helping you pay for your kids because you can't pay $36,000 a year for 3 kids to go to school. Does that make sense?
I just don't, myself, I don't think it's fair, but I just wanted to say.
Did you understand what I meant at least?
In a way, I don't.
Okay.
I just think that when a man is a certain age and your kids are gone, your obligation should be gone also.
That's why we have senior freeze.
Just like other things, you know. It goes away.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir. Closing public comment, all in favor?
Aye.
Dates to remember. Next township meeting will be December 3rd at 7 p.m. Land Development Board meeting is December 4th at 7 p.m. Historic Commission, November 27th at 7 p.m. Recreation Committee meeting, November 13th at 7 p.m. Annual tree lighting ceremony at the firehouse, which is always a nice time, December 5th at 6 p.m. Santa Around Town, December 9th through the 12th at 6:30 p.m. We will now have committee liaison and comments.
Mayor, the rec committee has been canceled because of the senior dinner, which starts on the 12th. Rec committee and senior committee met this past week to stuff envelopes to invite everyone to the senior dinner. If you have not, if you're 65 or older, or 60, whatever, over, and you have not been to the senior dinner, please call the school, call the office and get signed up for that. Found out that the votes are still not in. Only about 55% of the votes have been counted all throughout the county. We're not going to know till November 25th. So just keep cool. Again, the budget, I'm going to ask that we add 2 police employees to the budget because they might not be around when the budget's made. And I'm just going to make this very vague because I've already emailed the mayor, the lawyer, and the administrator, but if you have any meetings coming up that you'd not planned, that you would let all township committee members know ahead of time of that meeting. Thank you.
I don't even know what meeting, I don't know about it either. But who's next?
I wanted to thank all of the veterans in our community and, of course, everywhere. Yesterday was Veterans Day, so thank you for your service. I wanted to congratulate our patrolman, Gentile, for being sworn in today. And I do want to thank all the residents for coming out tonight, voicing their concerns. I do believe that working with the county, and I also wanted to thank Commissioner Hobson for being here, but I think that West Hampton and the county could continue to have good communication as they work through this project so that we can continue or try to keep the residents of West Hampton informed. And we have plenty of time to think about the safety and all of these concerns that we have to put things in place to move forward, I guess, in a positive way. I am a proud resident of West Hampton, and we all call this our home, and we have a right to voice our opinions. I feel I need to address that some of the things that are being said on our social media page, the West Hampton 08060, is not always positive, and I think that we all need to just reflect on how we voice our opinions and talk about our own community and our town and what that perception may look like to future families that may want to reside here or future business owners that may want to have a place here and how that may look. So I just think, yes, it's a place for us to all speak and voice our concerns, but some of the stuff on there is not always written in the nicest way, I guess I'll say. That's all. Thank you.
Jamie seems to always say some of the things that I want to say. So I want to ditto everything that Jamie said tonight. in terms of the communication between the county and West Hampton, I do agree, although we didn't have a say-so in things, I do agree that we could have done better at getting that information out to the residents, and just hopefully moving forward that there can be better communication with that, and possibly, you know, have a meeting that's dedicated toward that. And it would be nice if some of those questions could be relayed to the committee beforehand, so that when Director Hobson comes out, then she can have that information and be prepared to give that information to the residents. So that's all I have to say, and ditto everything that Jamie said in reference to Officer Patrolman Gentile being sworn in today, and as well as thank you for your service to the veterans that have served.
I'd just like to thank my neighbors for coming out today. I really appreciate you coming and voicing your concerns, your opinions, spending the time here with us and learning about it, asking the questions, the hard questions. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the veterans, our public works chiefs. Appreciate you very much. Thank you.
So thank you to the veterans for your service. Thank you to the residents that came out and asked questions. I think that it continues to need to be said. Like, we don't all agree up here, and that's why you have a committee of 5 people, not one person. There's no one up here on the committee that has more say-so than anyone else. So that's why you have a committee of 5. You have a committee so that, you know, people can come together, not necessarily with like-minded ideas, but ideas that help the township. And, you know, that's happened with our residents today. You know, our residents today, some have questions or have some concerns that they want to display and talk about, and we were able to do that. The positive side is that I don't know, I mean, I've been around 7 years, but I don't know the last time that we've had someone from the county, as far as the commissioner, come here, take on all questions. She doesn't know what's going to be asked or what she's going to have, you know, to be able to say back to the residents or any of those things, but to be transparent enough and open enough to be able to come here was brave, and it's something that hopefully we can respect, but also getting her back here again to do that all again so we can get some answers. Just to touch on a little bit, I know we talked about the position of hiring. The other thing that position is supposed to do, you know, is be way more active on social media for the township. You know, one of the things that I have noticed, and it's been a bit of a change, right? Like, not as many people come into the building as they did 20 years ago, but more people go to social media for answers. They go to our website or they go to different sites to get information. And all the information that they're getting on there is not always 100% accurate. So I think it's important. This is one of the things that I brought up when I asked about us, you know, if we're going to hire somebody else, that this is something that they need to do. They need to make sure that we're reaching out to the community with accurate information, right, and making it accessible and easier for them to get a hold of, to answer, right? So if they have to look at, if they have any questions, they know then to contact us. If we learned nothing today, we've learned that all you guys have asked for is to be brought in more into the fold and to have accessibility in what we're talking about and what we have. It's our job to make sure we put a plan together to be able to do that. And one of the things that I have asked is whoever they decide to hire, I mean, with the other things that they're going to do for our town, they also need to be active on social media, making sure we're getting the right message out there. Not just the good things that we do, but the things that, you know, the things like the shelter that people may have questions about, to know to come into the meetings, because we always say how happy we are to see everyone, but to show you that we really want you to come here and ask these questions so we can get answers to make this the best place for you to live in. And last but not least, yesterday was our Veterans Day breakfast and our brunch. And, you know, this is something that I've sponsored the last 3 years. But the one thing that's encouraging, we would like is, listen, anybody come out. We are able to serve the veterans. We're able to kind of talk to them. They're in the middle of getting a grant to fix up their house over there. And, it's an opportunity to hear some of the things that they've gone through and why we should be thankful for them. So every Monday, not every Monday, but every Veterans Day morning, I'll be there. We have an elected official that's there that hasn't been elected for 3 years, that's still there, and has his son handing out food as well. So anyone's welcome to come and join. I think it's a great event for West Hampton, and it's a great time to be thankful for our veterans. With that being said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Berkeley?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
You need something else? You need something else?
Lower or high?
How you feeling? Oh, my battery's dying.
Uh-oh.